Chapter 198. The Three-Headed Green Feather Kite. To the Origin sect, this was just a small episode. Although many players had died, there were no irreparable losses. However, this time, Qin Shujian had made a move. It also made the other players understand that there was still a big gap between them and this big shot. Although everyone was in the true martial realm, when they really fought, the difference was like heaven and earth. A three-headed green feather kite had killed many players and forced them to flee. Even the top first stage true martial realm players could not withstand a single blow from dozens of people. More than half of them were burned to death. This was also a powerful monster. However, it could not withstand a few blows from Qin Shujian before its three heads were chopped off. Such strength, the three-headed green feather kite was not the only thing that was crushed. The mentality of many players was also crushed. Soon, this time, the video was also uploaded to the forum by the players. Nowadays, the forum was filled with all kinds of videos uploaded. However, there was one thing that was certain. As long as the words, "Liang Mountain Fort Master," were mentioned in the video, it would definitely not disappear. The Liang Mountain True Dominion expanded. After a slight commotion, it quickly calmed down. Soon, the forces that belonged to the original Nine-Leaf Ordinary Dominion and were now integrated into the Liang Mountain True Dominion sent representatives to the Origin sect to pay their respects to the strongest force in the Liang Mountain True Dominion. In the free time, Qin Shujian also met the leaders of these forces. To be honest, the Nine-Leaf Ordinary Dominion had just been integrated. The people of these forces were at most in the 10th stage of the basic martial realm. There were even people in the 8th or 9th stage of the basic martial realm. Such cultivators were a dime a dozen in Yuan sect. If he was not so bored, he would not have met these people. Another half a month passed. During this period, the Liang Mountain True Dominion was relatively peaceful. However, the entire Great Shao was in turmoil. Marquis Qianshan rebelled. He even set up the terrifying heaven-sealing earth-locking array, which directly imprisoned more than half of the Thousand Mountain Prefecture's territory. They could not use the teleportation array at all. No one had expected that Marquis Qianshan would set up such a huge array without anyone noticing. It was only at the last moment that it shocked the world. The teleportation array was sealed. For the vast Great Zhao, the difficulty of moving troops had increased exponentially. When it was time for the Great Zhao to gather its troops, Marquis Qianshan had already finished reorganizing the cities that he had conquered. He had formed a straight line in front of him, and he could only defend against the attacks of the imperial court. The two sides had fought several times, and both sides had suffered losses. In this way, this also gave others the opportunity to see the weakness of the imperial court. Hence, the other vassals who had the intention of rebelling also took this opportunity to raise their troops and rebel. The pressure on the rebels, who were already under siege by the imperial court, was greatly alleviated. Regarding the situation of the Great Zhao, Qin Shujian was not completely clueless. Now that Yuan sect's influence was not small, it was impossible for him to let the people of Yuan sect live in peace. Until now, there were already many Yuan sect disciples who had gone out to train. These people had traveled all over the surrounding True Dominion and even further. Other than that, Qin Shujian had even asked some people to set up shops in various big cities and even other True Dominion areas. They were specifically used to sell the spirit herbs and ores that sect disciples had submitted in exchange for contribution points. Although they were working with the carrier trading company, all eggs could not be placed in the same basket. Now that Yuan sect's influence was growing, it naturally had its own industry. Because of this, some Yuan sect disciples who had gone out to train would pass on the relevant information to the shops under Yuan sect. Then, it would be passed up through the ranks and eventually landed in the hands of Qin Shujian. Based on this reason, this also allowed Qin Shujian to obtain a lot of information even if he did not step out of his house. However, although he did not step out of his house, his strength was growing every moment. When he had killed the three-headed green feather kite, the great desolate devil suppressing seal had been raised to the point of perfection. Now, by relying on his own cultivation, the Great Dream Spirit Capture technique had broken through to the 5th level of the true martial section. The players were getting stronger and stronger. The life force source that he harvested was also increasing. And now, in just half a month, the life force source on the attribute panel had reached a level of 110,000 points. And as the life force source reached 100,000 points, apart from the 2 entry level martial arts, all the other martial arts techniques had an additional plus behind them. Among them, this included the Wisdom King Prison Breaking Saber that had reached the unity of heaven and man level. This was a mid-grade true level martial art. Qin Shujian rarely used it anymore. Most of the time, when facing strong enemies, he would use the mid-grade divine level Great Desolate Devil Suppressing Seal. If facing an ordinary opponent, he could easily suppress them with his own true essence. So, speaking of which, the Wisdom King Prison Breaking Saber was not very useful to him. However, the Wisdom King Prison Breaking Saber at the unity of heaven and man level is still in the category of martial arts. However, the Wisdom King Prison Breaking Saber at the entry level will definitely undergo a transformation. If I can raise it, it might allow me to have a more thorough understanding of the Saber Dao. After obtaining the Great Dream Spirit Capture technique, Qin Shujian realized that the spirit martial arts realm seemed to involve the level of the mind. If he could raise it, perhaps it would have a lot of benefits in the future. Looking at the pulsating life force from time to time, he finally decided to raise the Wisdom King Prison Breaking Saber. It was not a big deal. It was just a waste of 10 or so innate life force. The loss was not too big. Anyway, even if all these life force were to be used on the Great Dream Spirit Capture technique, it would not be able to raise it to the level of perfection. With the thought, 100,000 life force disappeared in an instant. The Wisdom King Prison Breaking Saber also directly rose from the unity of heaven and man level to the entry level. When the martial art was raised, Qin Shujian only felt that the scene in front of him changed, and in an instant, he was already in a netherworld hell. The ground was cracked, and rolling magma could be seen everywhere. In the sky, there was a blood moon, and smoke covered the clouds and the moon. There were also vengeful spirits wailing and fighting, and the magma swallowed all the creatures that fell in. It was as if this was not a world, but a world that was on the verge of destruction. This was a hell that should not have any creatures. Immediately, a huge body climbed up from the purgatory, holding a long saber burning with red flames, and directly slashed at the ground. This slash seemed to have split the entire earth, and terrifying magma surged, swallowing all the creatures. This slash seemed to have broken some kind of restraint. The entire hell began to tremble. Endless Taoist rhymes turned into a long saber that reached the heavens and the earth. It directly scattered the smoke in the sky, pierced the blood moon, and caused a ray of gentle light to be directly projected into the hell. Everything was melting away. Only the huge body stood proudly in the hell, and no matter how much the magma swept, it could not swallow even a little bit. The long saber in the hand was still burning with flames, as if there were red lotuses looming in it. Soon, the scene was broken. But the first slash that cut through the hell was deeply engraved in Qin Shujian's mind. His original understanding of saber intent had deepened a lot at this moment. Because you have 2 entry-level martial arts of the same kind, you have automatically fused to obtain a new ability, saber intent. Qin Shujian was startled by the sudden system message. Then, he directly checked his own attributes. The Black Tiger Saber technique and the Wisdom King Prison Breaking Saber, which were originally in the martial arts section, had disappeared at this moment. In the special ability section, if one did not observe carefully, it would be difficult to notice this subtle change. Chapter 199. While Qin Shujian was silently cultivating, his strength was steadily increasing. A piece of news. It caused him to withdraw from his cultivation state. In the courtyard, under the nourishment of the spirit energy, the osmanthus tree grew much faster than it did in other places. Unknowingly, the flowers on the tree had already bloomed, and a refreshing fragrance filled the courtyard. Qin Shujian sat on a stone bench, under the shade of the tree, and held a letter in his hand. The letter was sent by a member of the Yuan sect. However, the person who wrote the letter was not from the Yuan sect. It was Lin Wanyu, the manager of the Profound Void True Domain of the Carrier Trading Company. Forget it. After staying here for so long, I'm going to get moldy. It's not a bad idea to go out for a walk. Even if I don't gain anything, I'll just take it as a distraction. After burning the letter with his true yuan, Qin Shujian stood up. The ashes dissipated in the wind. Level 10 Yang Fire. The aura attached to the true yuan could easily melt steel. It was even easier to burn a small piece of paper. Perhaps it was because of the influence of the movies in his previous life, but Qin Shujian now directly burned any letter he received after reading it. He did not have the habit of keeping it, although the information in the letter was not important. However, he definitely did not want to one day, so would hold a letter saying that they knew the secret of his relationship was so and so. After leaving the courtyard, Qin Shujian gathered the few elders of the Yuan sect and told them about his trip. After assigning some things, he left Liang Mountain. However, just as he left the Liang Mountain village, he looked at his source of life, and with a thought, he instantly raised the great dream-capturing spirit technique, which he had not been able to raise after many days of bitter cultivation, to the 6th stage. He felt the true yuan increase in his dantian. Qin Shujian sighed with emotion. After all, bitter cultivation is not as fast as using the source of life to raise one's dantian. However, he only sighed with emotion for a while before he noticed the changes in his body. As the great dream-capturing spirit technique advanced to the 6th stage of the true martial technique. Originally, his dantian was already filled with quintessential essence. Now, it was overflowing. Qin Shujian also felt that he was getting closer and closer to that mysterious limit. The Liangshan True Dominion was separated from the Mystic Void True Dominion by the Zhengxi True Dominion. However, for Qin Shujian, who had stepped into the path of Tao with his footwork, Qin Shujian had no way to defeat him. The boundaries of the two True Dominion were not that far apart. Back then, he had followed the Carrier Trading Company's fleet and spent half a month or so to arrive at Baifeng City. But now, with Qin Shujian's strength, it was impossible for him to defeat Qin Shujian. Even though they didn't fly in such a high-profile manner, it only took them 2 days to reach this place. Because there was no guide. When Qin Shujian entered the city, he also paid the entrance fee of 3 copper coins. As for this, he didn't say anything, and he didn't feel the anger of someone who was stopped by a domain lord or a sect master. After all, it was impossible for him to show off his identity, and say that he was Qin Shujian, Yuan Zong, and so on just for a mere 3 copper coins. In front of a large crowd, Yuan Zong's reputation would probably be completely destroyed. Candy figurines! Beautiful and delicious candy figurines! 2 for 1 copper coin! Rouge and face powder! Walking in Baifeng City, he could hear all kinds of hawking and shouting. Besides the shops on both sides of the street, there were also many small stalls and vendors selling their wares. There were people coming and going all around, creating a lively and peaceful atmosphere. The last time he had come to Baifeng City, he had sat in a carriage and left in a hurry. Speaking of which, Qin Shujian hadn't really seen what Baifeng City looked like. This is the Liangshan Stockade Master? There were many players in Baifeng City. When they saw Qin Shujian's face, some of them, who had seen the video before, were stunned. Instantly, when the other players heard this, their gazes landed on Qin Shujian. The Liangshan Stockade Master? This was a famous big boss. Many people had only seen him on the forum. This was the first time they had seen him in person. If they remembered correctly, the Liangshan True Dominion was quite far away from the Xuanxi True Dominion. The other party didn't stay in Yuan Zone but suddenly came here. Some of the players couldn't help but feel puzzled. At Qin Shujian's level of cultivation, even close gazes couldn't escape his senses. When he shifted his gaze, he happened to meet the eyes of the players who were staring at him. In an instant, those players looked away hurriedly as if they had encountered something terrifying. There was no such thing as a safe zone in this game. What if this big shot was unhappy with him and stabbed him in the back? That would be too much of an injustice. TSK, this batch of players is a little timid. Seeing this, Qin Shujian shook his head secretly, and no longer paid any attention to him. Very soon, he arrived in front of the mansion of the Qingyun Trading Company. Although there were guards in front of the mansion, they didn't stop him from entering or leaving. This was because the doors of the trading company were open for business. It was impossible to ask for the identity of every person who came in. Unless it was a really important place inside, there would be special personnel to stop him. After easily entering the room, Yi Zichen looked at Yi Zichen. If they wanted to develop steadily in the True Dominion, it was necessary to have contact with Yuan Zone. As the chief steward of the Mystic Void True Dominion, Lin Wanyo's status was comparable to that of a sect master. In the past, he had been on equal footing with Qin Shujian. However, now, in front of Qin Shujian, his status was unknowingly lowered by a notch. Qin Shujian responded to Lin Wanyo's flattery with a smile. Then, he changed the topic and said, I received a letter from the chief steward and came directly to Baifeng City. However, I wonder if the matter mentioned in the letter is true? Upon hearing that the other party was talking about serious matters, Lin Wanyo's face also turned serious as he said, Some time ago, a disciple from a fallen sect came. He wanted to auction off his sect's cultivation technique and martial arts in exchange for cultivating resources. Before that sect was defeated, it used to be quite reputable. Its alchemy and blacksmithing techniques were also quite famous. But it was a pity. Even though the sect's alchemy and blacksmithing techniques were not weak, their strength was not high. In the end, their enemies came knocking on their door. Hundreds of years of foundation were destroyed overnight, and only a few people managed to escape. Unfortunately, their enemies still pursued them relentlessly and swore to eliminate them completely. Now that they couldn't hold on any longer, they wanted to sell their sect's cultivation technique and martial arts. They wanted to increase their cultivation level in exchange for a chance to survive. Upon hearing this, Qin Shujian could roughly understand the situation from the other party's words. What price does he want to sell it for? The other party doesn't intend to sell it directly, but wants to auction it. When will the auction start? It should have started earlier, but because Sect Master Qin has not arrived, the Chamber of Commerce has been holding back. Now that Sect Master Qin has arrived, the auction will start tomorrow. Upon hearing this, Qin Shujian also nodded. Tomorrow was just what he wanted. There was no need to waste too much time. Then, he opened his mouth and said, I would like to meet the person from this sect. Is that possible? The Chamber of Commerce has a rule that the matters of the guests must be kept confidential. If the item hasn't been auctioned yet, it will inevitably cause unnecessary trouble. Lin Wanyu was a little hesitant. He shook his head and said, I suggest that Sect Master Qin should wait until the auction is over and get their sect's cultivation technique and martial arts in your hands before asking to meet the buyer. In this way, I can deal with it. Then I'll do as Steward Lin said. In this regard, Qin Shujian did not insist too much. After all, the other party said so. Then everything would wait until the auction was over. Chapter 200. It was night time. Qin Shujian was resting in his room. Originally, he had intended to stay at an inn, but Lin Wanyu had strongly invited him, so he decided to stay at the Qingyun Trading Company. Knock. The door is not locked. Please come in. Clang. The door opened, and Lin Wanyu walked in. Looking at Qin Shujian, who was meditating cross-legged, he could not help but praise him. Sect Master Qin is so hard-working. It's no wonder that you are a top-notch expert of the True Dominion at such a young age. You are so talented and hard-working. You make me blush with shame. But I have nothing to do. Even if I don't cultivate, I have nothing else to do. Qin Shujian shook his head in response to Lin Wanyo's words. While they were talking, he had finished his cross-legged state and sat down at the round table in the room. Then, he poured 2 cups of tea and said, "Chief Steward, please." "Thank you." Lin Wanyu thanked him first. Then, he looked at Qin Shujian and said with a smile, "Sect Master Qin, you haven't walked around by Feng City much, right? I saw some when I entered the city. It's rare for Sect Master Qin to come here tonight. Why don't we go out for a walk? I'll bring Sect Master Qin to see what Bai Feng City looks like tonight." At this point, Lin Wanyo's eyebrows twitched. Then, he smiled ambiguously and said, "Bai Feng City's pink brothels are famous. Anyone who comes here will definitely experience it." Looking at his expression, combining his words, Qin Shujian was a little confused. However, he instinctively felt that things were not simple. Pink brothels? After muttering this word a few times in his heart, he suddenly understood. When he looked at Lin Wanyo's expression again, he felt strange no matter how he looked at it. "I treat you as a friend. You actually want to bring me." Cough, cough. After coughing twice, Qin Shujian shook his head and rejected him. "I feel that my cultivation technique has reached a bottleneck. I'm prepared to cultivate properly. I'm afraid I can't accompany you. We'll talk about it again in the future." He did not seem to be lying. Lin Wanyu also looked a little regretful, but he couldn't force it. He immediately got up and said, "Everything should be focused on cultivation. Since Sect Master Qin is about to make a breakthrough, I won't disturb you anymore. Take care, Chief Steward. Goodbye." After walking out of the room, Lin Wanyu looked at the closed door and shook his head, intending to leave. However, after walking for a short while, he suddenly stopped in his tracks. "If I remember correctly, Master Qin should be at the 10th level of the martial realm." The 10th level of the martial realm. Above that was the spirit martial realm. However, the shackles of the true dominion still existed. How could he break through without heading to the spirit dominion? Then, he thought of the other party's words and expression. He had a rough understanding of the situation. "I didn't expect that a top-notch expert of the true dominion would still be a virgin." Lin Wanyu shook his head and laughed, but he couldn't turn around and expose anything. Some people like women. Some people, however, love to cultivate. As for the true experts, most of them were the latter. Thinking about it this way, it wasn't completely incomprehensible for the other party to have achieved so much. On the other side, after Lin Wanyu left, Qin Shujian immediately started cultivating. The next morning, due to the auction, Lin Wanyu had to preside over some matters. Therefore, he asked the attendant to knock on the door and remind Qin Shujian to prepare to attend the auction. After a simple freshening up, Qin Shujian followed the attendant and walked around before arriving at the shop that he had entered the day before. Then, he walked up the stairs to the 3rd level and entered a room. The room wasn't big, but one could see what was outside through the window screen. Looking down through the window screen, one could see a few rows of seats below and an auction stage in front of them. At the moment, someone was already standing on the stage. The attendant beside him said, "Sect Master Qin, this is the auction venue. When the auction starts later, different treasures will be auctioned off. If you have an item that you like, you can bid directly. If you don't have enough cash, the chief steward has instructed that you can make up for it after the auction." "Thank you." Also, the window screen can only be seen from the inside. It can't be seen from the outside. I'll wait outside the door. If Sect Master Qin needs anything, please let me know." After the attendant finished speaking, he respectfully left the room and closed the door. At this moment, Qin Shujian retracted his gaze and looked around the room carefully. Although the room wasn't big, the decorations were extremely exquisite. There were fruits and snacks on the table and, smelling the fragrance of the tea, he could basically conclude that it was spirit tea. Regarding this, Qin Shujian was quite satisfied. Disregarding everything else, the Qing Transport Company had done a good job in terms of etiquette. Even the attendants and servants, it was hard to find any fault with the etiquette. Sitting down, While drinking the spirit tea, he looked down at the auction venue through the window screen. At this moment, people had arrived one after another. The few rows of seats were no longer empty. Then, Qin Shijian's ears twitched slightly. He heard a slight sound from the side. It could be inferred that someone else had entered the other rooms. From the attendant's words and the size of the auction venue, there shouldn't be too many rooms. They should only be reserved for those who could afford the price or had a distinguished status. For the latter, Qin Shijian, on the other hand, agreed more. After all, he was the sect master of Yuan sect. Those third-rate sects couldn't compare to him. I'm very honored that everyone can attend the auction of the Qing Transport Company today. I won't say much. I'm sure everyone is waiting anxiously. Now, the auction officially begins. Below, a slightly hunchbacked old man in brocade clothes stepped forward. His voice was as loud as a bell. As the other party's words fell, two beautiful women in light muslin clothes worked together to carry a long brocade box up. With the appearance of the two women, the atmosphere in the auction venue seemed to warm up. Level 10 Basic Martial Realm and Level 4 True Martial Realm? Qin Shijian scanned with his spiritual eye. He had already seen the attributes of the other party. The auctioneer was Yu Shihong. He was at Level 4 True Martial Realm and had just reached the Inner Invulnerability Realm. As for the two beautiful women, they were also at Level 10 Basic Martial Realm. Just from these 2 points, it could be seen that the strength of this branch was quite strong. At this moment, Yu Shihong had already opened the brocade box, revealing a silver-long spear. He immediately said in a deep voice, "The Tongxian ice-breaking spear is a weapon made of top-quality materials and forged by skilled craftsmen. It's a second-grade refined weapon. The starting price is 30,000 taels of silver. Each increment must be no less than 1,000 taels of silver." As soon as he finished speaking, someone immediately shouted a price. 31,000 taels of silver! 32,000 taels of silver! 41,000 taels of silver! In a short time, the price directly soared from 30,000 taels of silver to 41,000 taels of silver. And it showed no signs of stopping as people continued to bid. In the room, Qin Shijian sipped his spirit tea, ignoring the intense emotions of the crowd below. To put it bluntly, a second-grade refined weapon spear was simply not enough to enter his eyes. Even for Yuan Zong, there were many weapons of this level. Rather than spending money to buy it, it was better to go to other sects when he was free. Qin Shijian immediately suppressed the thought that popped up in his mind. This was an auction, and everyone was competing with money. It was not the time to compete with their fists. Soon, the Tongxian ice-breaking spear was bought by one person at the price of 73,000 taels of silver. For this price, Qin Shijian also thought it was reasonable. After all, the price of a second-grade refined weapon was around 50,000 taels of silver. The Tongxian ice-breaking spear was obviously stronger than the average second-grade refined weapon and could be regarded as a fine product. Although 70,000 taels of silver was a little premium, the difference was not big. When an item was sold, soon, the bidding for the second item began. Next, Qin Shijian was in a state of watching the show. He did not participate in the bidding for any item. It was not because he had no money. It was simply because the items being auctioned were not good enough for him. However, Qin Shijian also noticed something. That was, until now, the people who were bidding were the people below. No one in the surrounding rooms made a sound. "Come in!" Qin Shijian shouted. The attendant waiting outside immediately pushed the door open and asked respectfully, "Sect Master Qin, what are your orders? I would like to ask, how many items are there in this auction?" "There are a total of 53 items in this auction." 53 items? But if Sect Master Qin wants to know the specific items, you can only look at the illustrated handbook on the table. "I have no right to know," the attendant replied respectfully. "Illustrated handbook?" Qin Shijian's gaze stopped on the table for a while before he finally saw a small booklet on the side. "Then there is nothing else. Then I will go out first." The attendant did not say anything more and left respectfully again, closing the door behind him. Subsequently, Qin Shujian picked up the booklet on the table with an embarrassed look on his face. He miscalculated. Just now, his attention was on the auction and the items on the table were attracted by the spirit tea. He actually neglected this booklet. Opening the first page of the booklet, what came into view was the newly auctioned mystic ice-breaking spear. There was a detailed introduction of this weapon, as well as the starting price. After glancing at it briefly, Qin Shujian continued to flip through the booklet. As for the auction going on below, he temporarily ignored it. When he was seriously flipping through the booklet, he found that the items auctioned this time were not simple. At the beginning, the mystic ice-breaking spear was the worst. Later, there were even first-grade refined weapons and low-grade spiritual weapons. Low-grade spiritual weapon! Seeing this, Qin Shujian was slightly stunned. After reading the introduction of the item, he found that this was different from the low-grade spiritual weapon he imagined. It was different from the spiritual weapon that the sect suppressed and finally entered the spiritual weapon grade. The low-grade spiritual weapon in the booklet was man-made. Although its power was not much worse than the spiritual weapon that suppressed the luck, there was still a big difference in essence. The former could only kill the enemy. The latter could improve the sect's luck. In terms of preciousness, naturally, the latter was several times better than the former. Chapter 201. The auction went on. As more and more precious items were auctioned off, more and more people competed for them. Even the people in the side rooms were no longer watching. At this point, they were no longer watching from the sidelines. Instead, they started to bid one after another. Qin Shujian finally found what he was looking for on the 38th to 39th page of the booklet. The Foundry Ancestral Canon. The Celestial Light Alchemy Book. The booklet was categorized as an auxiliary martial art. However, the grade surprised him. The former was a low-grade spirit level. The latter was a middle-grade spirit level. Any martial art that touched the spirit level was extremely precious in the True Dominion. However, the starting price of these two martial arts left Qin Shujian a little dumbfounded. It was not too high. It was too low. The starting price was 50,000 taels of silver. One had to know that the price of a low-grade true-level martial art was around 50,000 taels of silver. A better martial art could reach 70,000 taels of silver or even 100,000 taels of silver. In comparison, the starting price of the two spirit-level martial arts was 50,000 taels of silver. That was a little too low. Qin Shujian flipped to the back of the booklet. There were more precious items at the back of the booklet. For example, there were high-grade true-level cultivation techniques, low-grade spirit weapons, and even exotic flowers and fruits that could enhance one's cultivation. However, there were no exceptions. The starting price of these items was higher than that of the two spirit-level martial arts. This time, we are auctioning a long sword called the Long Abyss Sorrowful Swan. It is currently a half-step spirit weapon. However, it has been appraised by the Foundry Master. If it can be nourished with quintessential essence day and night, there is a chance that it can be upgraded to a low-grade spirit weapon. The starting price is 200,000 taels of silver. Each bid must be at least 10,000 taels of silver. As soon as he finished speaking, someone immediately bid 300,000 taels of silver, 350,000 taels of silver, 370,000 taels of silver. Without any pause, the price soared all the way to 500,000 taels of silver. At this point, Qin Shujian also secretly clicked his tongue. A half-step spirit weapon was so expensive. It was beyond his expectations. However, he could understand it on second thought. A half-step spirit weapon might not be that precious. However, when the other party said that there was a chance that it could be upgraded to a low-grade spirit weapon, the price soared. It was different from a sharp weapon. Any weapon that entered the ranks of spiritual weapons could not be mentioned in the same breath. 700,000 taels! A voice slowly came from the side room. But after a long time, it was drowned out by other voices. 750,000. 770,000. 800,000. The price continued to rise, and soon it was close to 1,000,000 taels of silver. At this time, the bidding slowed down significantly. After all, it was only a half-step spiritual weapon and not a true spiritual weapon. Even if there was a slight possibility of it being upgraded, no one could be sure how long it would take. Spending a few 100,000 taels to gamble was already the limit. The higher the price, the higher the premium. That was not worth it at all. In the end, the price of this half-step spirit tool stopped at 1,130,000 taels, and the person in the room got it. They're all rich. Qin Shujian sighed with emotion. Right now, the amount of silver that Yuan Zong could take out was less than 2 million. Now, a single half-step spirit artifact had practically taken out all of Yuan Zong's assets. At first, he thought that he was quite rich. Now that he made a comparison, he suddenly realized. So, he was still a poor man. Looking at the 1,000,000 taels of silver in the storage ring, Qin Shujian was a little uneasy now. Originally, according to his plan, this amount of silver was more than enough to buy the 2 martial arts. But looking at the current situation, if a rich man intervened, it was still a problem whether the 1,000,000 taels of silver would be enough. After the successful auction of a half-step spirit artifact, the auction had entered a new climax. With the auction of one item after another, the prices were sold again and again. Qin Shujian only felt that his heart was also being attacked by the rich people all the time. At last, he came to a conclusion. Among the people present, if it was a competition of poverty, no one was a match for him. After the auction of one item, Qin Shujian was suddenly refreshed. His eyes looked through the window screen, watching the movement in the auction room. He saw that another woman in gauze handed over a sandalwood box of about 1 foot in size. After Yu Shihong took the box, he immediately said in a clear voice, "As we all know, except for the spirit artifacts that are bred by heaven and earth, only a master of forging with superb skills is qualified to forge a peerless spirit artifact. Now, I have a forging method in my hands, and its grade is as high as the low grade of the spiritual level. Anyone who gets it has a chance to become a master of forging. Now the starting price is 50,000 taels of silver, and each bid must not be less than 10,000 taels of silver." The scene suddenly became silent, and there was no passion at all. Yu Shihong smiled, but he was a little embarrassed in his heart. If it was other martial arts of the low grade of the spiritual level, not to mention 5 taels, even if it was 500,000 taels of silver, there would definitely be a large number of people scrambling to bid. But this was a martial art of forging. Anyone could know. 300,000 taels. 310,000 taels. 400,000 taels. Bang! Qin Shujian's face was filled with anger as he heavily slammed his palm on the table. What was the meaning of this? Clearly, they were using money to suppress him. Thinking about how he, Sect Master Qin, had been in the cultivation world for so long, he had never been despised in terms of money. In the other wing room, a middle-aged man and an old man were sitting there. The middle-aged man's clothes were luxurious, and each of his thumbs was wearing a thick jade ring. He laughed at the old man beside him. "Old Gu, you can rest assured. Whether it is money or strength, the Nine Rivers sect has never been afraid of anyone. This time, the celestial light alchemy tome will definitely be in our pockets. With Sect Master Li here, this old man naturally believes." Old Gu's face also had a faint smile. At this moment, in the other wing room, Qin Shujian forcibly suppressed his anger and continued to call out, 410,000 taels. 50. I am Sky Origin, Qin Shujian. Are you willing to give me some face? Sect Master Li and Old Gu's faces stiffened. They originally planned to continue to call out the price, but they stopped. Sky Origin! Qin Shujian! Now, Li Fei had an impulse to turn around and leave. Just now, He had boasted in front of the other party that he would definitely be able to obtain the Celestial Light Alchemy Tome. But now, he felt as if something was stuck in his throat, and he couldn't call out the price no matter how hard he tried. Not only him. Even Old Goo's face was ugly. In the end, he shook his head and sighed. Forget it, Sect Masterly. We don't need the Celestial Light Alchemy Tome. Then we will do as Old Goo says. Li Fei immediately took advantage of the situation, but at the same time, there was still some lingering fear in his heart. What kind of person was Qin Shujian? He was the kind of person who would bear a grudge if there was a little dispute. Many people had already found out the reason for the destruction of the 7 sects. It was just that when they were exploring the treasure land, there was a fight over the spiritual item. Then, after Sect Master Qin got the spiritual item, he went back and led the experts of the sect to destroy all the sects that participated in the fight. If they were to be hated by Qin Shujian because of the competition for an alchemy method in the auction. Li Fei thought of this. His heart trembled slightly. Then he would really be sorry to the ancestors of the 9 Rivers sect. At this moment, not only Li Fei and the others, but the entire auction house was silent. The simple sentence just now had given everyone a great shock. No one expected. Even Sky Origin's sect master was here. Chapter 202. After a friendly negotiation, Qin Shujian bought the Celestial Light Alchemy book at the price of 410,000 taels of silver. Indeed, being angry will only lead to a lose-lose situation. Only a friendly negotiation can lead to a win-win situation. After sighing with emotion, he shouted and the attendant outside the door immediately came in. Do you know who's in that room? Sect Master Qin, the identities of the guests in the room are confidential. I don't know either. The attendant replied respectfully. That's all. I'll take my leave. The attendant retreated. Qin Shujian's gaze landed on the room where the voice had come from. For a moment, no one knew what he was thinking. Meanwhile, after the auction of the Celestial Light Alchemy book ended, the next round of auction immediately began. However, Qin Shujian's words made many people feel uneasy. Origin sect? Although he had not done anything else after the 7 sects had been annihilated, this did not mean that they had forgotten the existence of this colossus. On the contrary, the more Origin sect remained silent, the more the other powers guessed and thought about what Origin sect would do next. After all, this was a power that was already an overlord of the true dominion. No matter what they thought, it was unlikely that they would be willing to stay in a remote place like the true dominion of the Liang Mountain. If Origin sect was determined to leave the true dominion of the Liang Mountain, then, who would he point his blade at? Now that Qin Shujian had come to the Mystic Void True Dominion, could he have set his sights on this area? For a moment, many people made wild guesses in their hearts. Very few people bid for the next few auction items. Basically, they stopped when it was about time. When Yu Shihong saw this, he immediately waved his hand to get someone to come up and whispered something in his ear. Very soon, then, he saw a jade-green box being carried up. Perhaps it was because the box made entirely of jade had attracted attention or for some other reason, but everyone, who had been a little distracted, now focused their gazes. Yu Shihong was quite satisfied with this effect. Then, he said loudly, the item being auctioned this time is the low-grade spirit artifact, the Wangqing sword. It belonged to the spirit martial realm cultivator, Dao Lord Wangqing. After Dao Lord Wangqing passed away, the Wangqing sword disappeared without a trace. Now, after many twists and turns, it was finally obtained by someone else and finally appeared in the auction. The starting price is 2 million taels, and each bid must be at least 100,000 taels. Boom! As soon as these words were spoken, everyone's emotions were ignited. The fear that had been brought about by Qin Shujian also disappeared completely under the bombardment of the low-grade spiritual weapon. Low-grade spirit weapon. It was a treasure that could be used to guard a sect or clan. Even if these man-made spiritual artifacts did not have the effect of suppressing fate, the power of the spiritual artifacts alone was enough to protect the continuation of the sect and the safety of future generations. In the true dominion, a spiritual weapon was more terrifying than a cultivator in the 10th level of the martial realm. In the spiritual realm, only a portion of spirit martial realm cultivators could use spirit weapons as weapons. It could be said that spirit weapons were considered priceless in the true dominion. Even if you had the money, you might not be able to buy it. Occasionally, a few spirit weapons would appear at the Qingyun Trading Company's auction. However, every time they appeared, many factions would fight over them. The auction had been going on for so long. Many forces had participated in the bidding, but none of them had actually made a deal. They had done so because they wanted to preserve their strength and compete for the ownership of the spiritual artifacts. When the jade box was opened, a sinister chill instantly filled the entire venue. Everyone's eyes were burning with passion as they started bidding crazily. As for Qin Shujian, he was now just watching the show. Half of the silver he had brought had already been used up. The remaining silver was not even enough to cover the starting price of the spiritual artifacts. Therefore, he could only watch. However, he was already satisfied that he had been able to obtain the 2 cultivation techniques. As for the rest, there was no need for him to participate. However, Qin Shujian looked at the faces of the people who were bidding fiercely and memorized them. Then, he looked at the other rooms through the window's screen and silently observed the people who were bidding fiercely and were richer. When he had the chance, he also wanted to find out where these people were from. There was no other reason. He just liked to be friends with rich people. Although the origin sect was poor, its strength was not bad. It would not be too degrading to be friends with rich people. By the time the auction ended, Yi Zichen had already made his decision. Someone knocked on the door. After receiving permission, someone immediately came in and brought the 2 martial arts techniques that Qin Shujian had obtained from the auction. After seeing the 2 martial arts techniques, Qin Shujian did not open them immediately. Instead, he waved his hand and threw out more than 400,000 taels of silver from the storage ring. Then, the room was filled to the brim with silver. Seeing this scene, everyone was stunned and stood rooted to the ground. No one expected that silver would appear out of thin air. Even more so, they did not expect that Qin Shujian did not bring banknotes. Instead, he brought more than 400,000 taels of silver. Fortunately, the quality of the room was good. Or else, this pile of silver alone would probably crush the floor of the room. Seeing this, Yu Shihong quickly recovered from his daze and said with a smile, "Sect leader Qin is so straightforward." He was able to host the auction and naturally had a lot of experience. Although the storage ring was precious, it was not very rare for the Qingyun Trading Company. Qin Shujian said, "I only brought cash with me. You can count it." "There's no need to count it. We naturally trust sect leader Qin's reputation." Yu Shihong stepped forward. The ring on his ring finger flashed slightly and more than 400,000 taels of silver were immediately collected into it. A storage ring? Seeing this, Qin Shujian was not too surprised. The Qingyun Trading Company was a big business. It would be strange if they did not have a storage ring. After the money was settled, Qin Shujian continued, "I would like to meet the person who auctioned these 2 martial arts techniques. I wonder if your company could introduce me to him. I can ask on your behalf. However, I can't guarantee the details. It's best if this matter can be done. It doesn't matter if it can't." "That's good. Sect leader Qin, please wait here for a while. I'll be back soon." Yu Shihong heard this and immediately stood up to leave. Qin Shujian did not stop him. Instead, he returned to his original position and looked at the 2 martial arts once again. Celestial Light Alchemy Scroll. Ancestral Book of Casting. After making sure that no one was watching, he directly opened the 2 martial arts techniques. "You've learned Celestial Light Alchemy Tome of Spiritual Class. You've learned Celestial Light Alchemy Tome of Forging." Suddenly, a large amount of knowledge appeared in his mind. However, it seemed to be suppressed very quickly. Only a small part of it remained. Then, Qin Shujian looked at his own attributes. Under Martial Arts, there was a new column. Special Martial Arts, Celestial Light Alchemy Tome, Celestial Light Alchemist, Ancestral Tome of Forging, Celestial Light Alchemist. Celestial Light Alchemist and Celestial Light Alchemist? When Qin Shujian recalled the contents of these two special martial arts techniques, he realized that he could only view the contents of Celestial Light Alchemist and Celestial Light Alchemist. Moreover, he seemed to have memorized them and practiced them thousands of times. When he wanted to view the contents beyond Celestial Light Alchemist and Celestial Light Alchemist, he realized that he could not do so at all. It seems that special martial arts techniques are somewhat different from normal martial arts techniques. I need to improve and unseal them step by step before I can fully master them. However, now I can be considered as an alchemist and Celestial Light Alchemist. Qin Shujian felt the knowledge about alchemy and Celestial Light Alchemist and Celestial Light Alchemist, although he could only get a part of the initial content. However, he was not too worried. As long as he had enough life source, he would not be afraid of not being able to improve the level and unseal the content. The only thing he had to consider now was how to find the right person for these two martial arts techniques. After all, as a sect master, it was impossible for him to not do business every day and just stay in the sect to refine pills and refine weapons. That was impossible. All of a sudden, Qin Shujian looked at the position of the door. He sensed two auras approaching, but none of them belonged to Yu Shihong or Lin Wanyu. In fact, they didn't even belong to anyone who had just appeared. There was no knock on the door. Subtle footsteps finally stopped at the door. Then, a respectful voice came. 9 Rivers Sect Master Li Fei and Elder Gu Xing have come to pay respects to Sect Master Qin of Yuan Sect. 9 Rivers Sect's Li Fei? Just by hearing the other party's voice, he knew who it was. Come in. A faint voice came out. Li Fei and Gu Xing, who were standing at the door, looked at each other, then pushed the door open and walked in. When they saw Qin Shujian sitting there, they cupped their hands and said politely, "Greetings, Sect Master Qin. I don't remember having any interaction with 9 Rivers Sect. Why did the two of you suddenly come to visit? Previously, I did not know that it was Sect Master Qin who bid. In addition, Elder Gu is also an alchemist, so he bid for the Celestial Light Alchemy Scroll. In order to avoid any misunderstanding, we came to apologize." Li Fei's words were sincere, without the slightest arrogance that a sect master should have. Gu Xing, who was standing at the side, had the same attitude. Qin Shujian looked at the two, pausing on Gu Xing for a while. Then, he smiled and said, "It's just a misunderstanding. I am not a petty person. Sect Masterly, you don't have to take it to heart. In the end, it's my fault. I've caused Sect Master Qin to lose hundreds of thousands of silver." While speaking, Li Fei took a step forward and placed a thick stack of silver notes on the table, then retreated. "This is 500,000 silver to cover the cost of the Celestial Light Alchemy Scroll. The remaining tens of thousands of silver is for our first meeting. I specially gave it to Sect Master Qin. This, I'm afraid it's not good. This is 9 Rivers Sect's and Li's goodwill. I hope Sect Master Qin will not refuse." "Fine." Qin Shujian reached out and took the silver notes, then put them away. The smile on his face became more sincere. "Since it's Sect Master Li's goodwill, it would be ungrateful of me to refuse. I see that Sect Master Qin has other things to do, so we won't disturb you any longer. In the future, if Sect Master Qin has time, you can come to 9 Rivers Sect at any time. I will definitely welcome you." After speaking, Li Fei and Gu Xing bid farewell and left. It was as if the two of them came here just to give him money. Chapter 203. Originally, Qin Shujian had planned to find an opportunity to inquire about the identity of the person who bid against him after the auction ended. When he was free, he would pay a visit to the other party's sect. But Li Fei was so tactful now. On the contrary, it made it difficult for him to make a move. After all, it was normal to compete with each other in an auction. The other party had even personally delivered 500,000 taels of silver. So in comparison, not only did he not lose anything in this auction, but he also earned 2 special martial arts and 30,000 taels of silver. One doesn't hit a smiling person. A dignified sect master can do this to this extent. Li Fei knows when to yield and when to stand tall. It's a good thing that the Nine Rivers sect has such a sect master. Qin Shujian shook his head and decided not to find trouble with the Nine Rivers sect for the time being. A person like Li Fei who was so tactful. Now, there wasn't much left. He sat there and continued to study the Celestial Light Alchemy Amulet and the Ancestral Book of Casting. Not long after, he felt 3 auras approaching. One of them was more familiar. It came from Yu Shihong. "They're here!" Qin Shujian ended his study and waved his hand to open the door with his qi. Yu Shihong, who was standing at the door, raised his hand and was about to knock on the door, was slightly startled. Behind him stood a young man and a young woman. Seeing this, they were also somewhat surprised. But Yu Shihong reacted quickly and led the two into the room. He then introduced, "This is Sect Master Qin of the Nine Rivers Sect." Then he said to Qin Shujian, "These two are the people Sect Master Qin wants to see. Xin Yuqing of the Alchemy Sect greets Sect Master Qin. Xin Yuhua of the Alchemy Sect greets Sect Master Qin." The young man and woman also cupped their hands and bowed. Yu Shihong said, "Take your time, I won't disturb you." After that, he retreated and closed the door of the room. "Please take a seat." "Thank you, Sect Master Qin." Xin Yuqing and Xin Yuhua glanced at each other slightly, and then sat down somewhat cautiously. After all, the person opposite them didn't look much older than them. But when it came to identity, it was far from what they could compare to. The Origin sect was now an overlord power in the True Dominion. The sect master of the Origin sect even had the title of the #1 expert in the True Dominion. Even though this title was only acknowledged by a small number of people, there was still a lot of exaggeration. But no matter what, this meant that the other party's current position was unshakable. After the two of them sat down, Qin Shujian's spiritual eye also moved, and the other party's attributes appeared in his eyes. Name, Xin Yuqing. Title, Identity, Affiliation, Realm, 5th level of the Martial Realm. Name, Xin Yuhua. Idol, Identity, Affiliation, Realm, 5th level of the Martial Realm. Both of them were at the 5th level of the Martial Realm of Internal Gang. But besides that, everything else was blank. According to Qin Shujian's conjecture, the Pill Cauldron sect should have already been annihilated. Hence, their faction no longer existed. Thoughts flashed through his mind. Qin Shujian looked at the two of them pleasantly and said with a faint smile, "I wonder what level the two of you are at in terms of alchemy, blacksmithing, and blacksmithing?" The young man, Xin Yuqing, cupped his hands and said, "I am not talented. I am only a middle-grade blacksmith. However, I will be able to break through and become a high-grade blacksmith in the future." Although his tone was calm, it couldn't hide the hidden pride in his voice. He was already a middle-grade blacksmith at such a young age. He would be able to become a blacksmith master in the future. He would be considered a genius in the Pill Cauldron sect or anywhere else. Xin Yuhua, who was sitting on the other side, replied in a crisp voice, "I am already a high-grade alchemist." A high-grade alchemist. Qin Shujian's eyes narrowed. His expression also changed slightly as he looked at Xin Yuhua. If a middle-grade blacksmith wasn't enough to catch his attention, then a high-grade alchemist was not bad. "You can refine elixirs of the spirit martial realm? I just broke through, so I can only refine level 5 elixirs. I still need some time to refine level 6 elixirs," Xin Yuhua said as she shook her head. Hearing this, Qin Shujian wasn't too disappointed. Level 5 elixirs were also of great help to physical invulnerability cultivators. As for level 6 elixirs, they were already at the level of the spirit martial realm. Even if she could refine them, for the current Yuan Zone, they were not as useful as level 5 elixirs. Thinking of this, Qin Shujian picked up the teacup on the table and took a sip of the spiritual tea. He looked at the two and said, "You two belong to the Pill Cauldron sect. However, it is said that the Pill Cauldron sect has been destroyed. I will not beat around the bush. If you are willing to join my Yuan Zone, I can set up 2 halls of alchemy and blacksmithing. You two will be the elders. As for the people who are chasing you from behind, I will also take care of them. What do you think?" Hearing this, Xin Yuqing and Xin Yuhua were both stunned. Then, the two of them looked at each other. They didn't expect Qin Shujian to be so straightforward. When Qin Shujian wanted to see them. In fact, the two had some vague guesses in their hearts. However, they didn't dare to be sure. Now that the matter was out in the open, they were a little surprised. Xin Yuqing didn't agree immediately. Instead, she asked tentatively, "Don't you want to know who the enemy behind the Pill Cauldron sect is? Could it be the Imperial Court?" "No." Qin Shujian immediately waved his hand and sneered. "Since it's not the Imperial Court, what does my Yuan Zone have to fear? Even if it's a big sect of the spirit domain, it has to kneel in front of me." It was a simple sentence. However, it showed Qin Shujian's strong inner confidence. Except for the Imperial Court, Yuan Zone didn't fear any sect. This was the confidence of a level 4 force. It was also the confidence of having a Taoist artifact. As the lord of a domain, it was the confidence that he should have. Xin Yuqing and Xin Yuhua were suddenly speechless. Qin Shujian's powerful confidence made them unable to say the words they wanted to say in their hearts. The two of them looked at each other. Finally, Xin Yuqing said, "If Sect Master Qin's words are true, then we will join Yuan Zone. I never speak nonsense. Xin Yuqing, Xin Yuhua, greets the Sect Master." The two of them immediately got up and bowed. Qin Shujian sat there motionlessly, waiting for them to finish their greetings. Then, he smiled and said, "Elders, please take a seat." Hearing this, the two of them sat down. When he looked at them with his spiritual eye, Xin Yuqing and Xin Yuhua's attributes had already appeared in his eyes. The former's loyalty was 75 points. The latter's loyalty was 78 points. This kind of loyalty wasn't very high. However, it was good that they had just joined Yuan Zone. It proved that Yuan Zone's name was deeply rooted in people's hearts. Subsequently, Qin Shujian found Yu Shihong and said, "I would like to purchase some spiritual tea. What kind of high-quality spiritual tea do you have? There are 7 levels of spiritual tea. Now we have some 3rd-level spiritual tea. The price is 50,000 taels of silver per tael. It will be of great help to the cultivation of the real martial realm. Then give me 5 taels." As he spoke, Qin Shujian felt his heart ache. 5 taels of spiritual tea. It was equivalent to 250,000 taels of silver. Even if it was tea, it was clearly drinking money. However, he had already asked. As the sect master of Yuan Zone, he couldn't buy 2nd-level spiritual tea. Moreover, he would feel too shabby if he bought less. Hearing this, Yu Shihong smiled and said, "What Sect Master Qin wants is just right. We only have 5th-level, 3rd-level spiritual tea left. If you want more, I can't take it out." Immediately after, Qin Shujian asked Xin Yuqing and Xin Yuhua what they needed to refine pills and forge. Then, he spent hundreds of thousands of taels of silver. Finally, when he looked at the storage ring and saw that there were less than 200,000 taels left, he didn't want to talk anymore. However, these were all necessary expenses. Needless to say, spiritual tea. The rest of the things were necessary for refining pills and forging. Otherwise, even an upper-grade alchemist couldn't refine pills out of thin air. After arranging for Xin Yuqing and Xin Yuhua to rest temporarily, Qin Shujian set off to find Lin Wanyu. "Sect Master Qin, did the auction go well?" "Not bad." Speaking of this, Qin Shujian was also in a good mood. This time, he got the martial arts he wanted and also roped in 2 special talents. Subsequently, he continued, "This time, I came to find Chief Steward Lin because there is one more thing I need your help with." "What is it?" "I want to collect some yuan eroding bone powder." Do you have any way to do it? Yuan eroding bone powder! Lin Wanyu was also obviously stunned for a moment. Of course, he knew what yuan eroding bone powder was. After being stunned for a moment, he immediately frowned and said in a deep voice, Yuan eroding bone powder is formed after the death of the evil spirit. The evil spirit that was born today has long been killed or sealed. The yuan eroding bone powder that was left behind has probably drifted away with the wind. After all, Sect Master Qin also knows that although the yuan eroding bone powder is extremely poisonous, it has no other use. Very few people would collect this thing. I naturally understand this. If there is news of the yuan eroding bone powder, Chief Steward Lin can send a message to the Origin Sect or help to offer a high reward. Alright, when there is news, I will naturally inform Sect Master Qin. Thank you very much! After inquiring about the yuan eroding bone powder, Qin Shujian chatted with the other party for a while more and then got up to leave. After bidding farewell to Lin Wanyu, he then called for Xing Yuqing and Xing Yuhua. Then, he left by Feng's city and headed in the direction of Yuan Sect. Originally, with Qin Shujian's speed, it would only take 2 days to return to the Origin Sect. However, although Xing Yuqing and Xing Yuhua's strength was not bad, their speed was not fast. It took them more than a day to enter the boundary of the Blue River True Dominion, on a road with few people. However, there were 5 people blocking their way. Qin Shujian looked at the 5 people in front of him indifferently. When his spirit eye swept past them, their cultivation levels appeared in his eyes. 3 10th level True Martial Realm Cultivators. 2 8th level True Martial Realm Cultivators. They were all cultivators at the physical aura realm. Seeing this, his eyes flickered. 5 cultivators at the physical aura realm was a powerful force in the True Dominion. Furthermore, there were 3 10th level True Martial Realm cultivators among them, who were enough to determine the sect master of a sect. When he saw the power that the 5 of them belonged to, Qin Shujian was slightly surprised. The Celestial Sect? In his memory, there was no sect master called the Celestial Sect in the North Cloud Mansion's True Dominion. Furthermore, there was no sect that had so many experts at the peak of the True Martial Realm. Based on the change in Xing Yuqing and Xing Yuhua's pale faces, the situation was basically clear. Xing Yuhua took a small step back and said in a trembling voice, Sect Master, these are the people sent by the power that destroyed the Elixir Tripod Sect. Xing Yuqing's face was also pale. At the same time, she secretly activated her quintessential essence, preparing to unleash a deadly attack at any time. Qin Shujian had said that he was not afraid of the power that destroyed the Elixir Tripod Sect. However, what was the real situation? They couldn't be 100% sure. If Qin Shujian turned around and betrayed them in the face of pressure from the Celestial Sect, they would have no one to cry to. I am Luo Jiang, an outer sect elder of the Celestial Sect in the Fallen Dust Spirit Protectorate. Greetings, Sect Master Qin of the Origin Sect. The leader of the 5 people was a middle-aged man in yellowish-brown clothes. His cheeks were slightly sunken, and he cupped his hands. After he finished speaking, the scene was silent. Qin Shujian just looked at him indifferently, and didn't say a word. A haze flashed across Luo Jiang's eyes. Soon after, he cupped his hands together and said, Sect Leader Qin, the 2 people behind you are wanted by my Celestial Sect. I hope that you can return them to us. I will be extremely grateful. Xing Yuqing and Xing Yuhua are already elders of the Origin Sect. No matter what grudges they had with the Celestial Sect, no one can touch them after they enter the Origin Sect. Upon hearing this, on the other hand, Xing Yuqing and Xing Yuhua were visibly more relaxed. Luo Jiang's face was ugly as he said in a low voice, The Celestial Sect has no intention of becoming enemies with the Origin Sect. Why do you have to make things difficult for the Celestial Sect for 2 mere remnants of the Elixir Tripod Sect? If it had been someone else, he would have already taken action. However, the person standing in front of him was Qin Shujian, the sect master of the Origin Sect. Hence, Luo Jiang did not completely fall out with him. If it had been in the Spirit Protectorate, the celestial sect would not have been too afraid of a sect that only had a peak true martial realm expert, even if it had a Tao artifact guarding the sect. However, in the true Dominion, the celestial sect had no choice but to treat a true Dominion overlord like the Origin sect with caution. Are you threatening me? Please don't misunderstand, Sect Master Qin. I'm just stating a fact. The Origin sect is also an overlord in the true Dominion. Why should we offend the celestial sect for two mere remnants? You should know that the celestial sect also has a Tao artifact guarding the sect and many experts of the spirit martial realm. My sect master has heard of your name and wishes to befriend you. Why don't you hand over the two of them? Our two sects might even be on good terms. It seems like you're indeed threatening me. Qin Shujian nodded his head. The next moment, the expression in his eyes changed abruptly. A terrifying aura suddenly erupted. The vast quintessential essence condensed into a solid palm aura that suppressed Luo Jiang and the others. The moment he attacked, Luo Jiang and the others' expressions changed drastically. They were all peak true martial realm experts, but they actually felt a huge threat from this palm. They did not dare hesitate. The five of them unleashed a powerful attack. The terrifying quintessential essence condensed together and collided heavily with the palm aura. In an instant, a terrifying gale spread and engulfed everything in the surroundings. After one exchange, Luo Jiang immediately shouted, "Let's retreat." Chapter 204. They had always heard that the Sky Origin sect was domineering. Therefore, Luo Jiang considered their strength and avoided a direct confrontation with them. In the end, the other party was indeed as domineering as the rumors said. After hearing the name of the celestial sect, he had no scruples at all. Instead, he attacked directly. Moreover, Qin Shujian's strength was also far beyond their imagination. That palm just now. Luo Jiang knew that the five of them were definitely not a match for him. That terrifying strength. It was even comparable to a strong practitioner of the spiritual martial realm. Come and go as you please. Qin Shujian's face was cold. He made a seal with one hand. The vast vital essence directly exploded the air and turned into a shadow of a mountain. The terrifying power instantly spread in all directions. A fatal attack. A terrifying power. Luo Jiang and the others had no choice but to turn around and defend. As soon as they released their vital essence, they were directly crushed by the moving mountain seal. Then the mountain fell. Two physical invulnerability practitioners of level 8 of the martial realm were directly shaken until their bones and tendons were broken and they collapsed on the ground. Even Luo Jiang and the other two practitioners at the peak of the martial realm were shaken to the point that the vital essence in their dantian collapsed. They kept coughing up blood. One move of the moving mountain seal. All five physical invulnerability practitioners were seriously injured. Shocked by Qin Shujian's strength, Luo Jiang saw that the other party was about to attack again. He immediately shouted, "The celestial sect can no longer arrest them. Please stop. It's a long journey back to the Luochen spirit field. Let me send you on your way." Divine level martial arts. Great Wilderness Demon Suppression Seal. Moving Mountain Seal. Overturn the Sea Seal. Qin Shujian didn't hold back at all. He used two more moves of the seal. The power beyond the peak of the martial realm was released and directly drowned Luo Jiang and the others. The earth trembled. Several deep pits were left on the ground. Around them were broken corpses and bloodstains all over the ground. Dead? Xinyu and Xinyuhua, who were standing at the side, still hadn't completely recovered from the shock since Qin Shujian attacked. Until Luo Jiang and the others were defeated. It didn't even take 10 seconds. 5 physical invulnerability realm cultivators were directly killed by the other party. When Qin Shujian used the Great Desolation Devil Suppression Seal just now, the terrifying power made them feel that the person standing in front of them was not a physical invulnerability cultivator, but an expert in the spiritual martial realm. "Let's go!" A calm voice sounded in their ears, bringing them back to their senses. "Oh, she subconsciously replied. When she saw Qin Shujian walking in front of her, she hurriedly followed him. His heart, which had been hanging in the air, was now completely at ease. Walking behind Qin Shujian, Xinyuhua couldn't help but ask, "Sect Master, was that a spirit-ranked martial art you executed earlier?" "Divine-ranked martial art, Great Desolation Devil Suppressing Seal." "Divine-ranked martial art, Great Desolation Devil Suppressing Seal." Xinyuhua was obviously shocked. Qin Shujian tilted his head and looked at the two of them. "Why? Have you heard of it?" "No, no!" Xinyuhua shook her head. His sense of belonging to Yuan Zong had risen exponentially. Possessing divine-level martial arts. And a Dao artifact. If there was an expert at the spirit martial realm, it would undoubtedly be a large sect of the Spirit Protectorate. Qin Shujian didn't care about what Xinyuhua was thinking. When he had used his spirit eye just now, the loyalty of the two of them had already broken through the barrier of 80 points from the original 70 points. Obviously, the scene just now had caused a huge impact on them. This gave them a huge psychological impact, causing them to feel a sense of belonging to Yuan Zong. The reason Qin Shujian had killed Luo Jiang, it was because he wanted to silence them. Unless he handed over Xinyuqing and Xinyuhua, it was inevitable that he would become enemies with the Celestial Martial Sect. As for Luo Jiang's last words of help, they couldn't be taken seriously. Thinking about it from another perspective, if he was the sect master of the Celestial Martial Sect and there was a sect in the True Dominion that dared to defy the wishes of the Celestial Martial Sect, that sect would definitely be dead. Therefore, from the moment Luo Jiang and the others had stopped them, there was already no room for negotiation. As for letting the tiger return to the mountain, this wasn't Qin Shujian's style at all. Instead, he had killed Luo Jiang and the others. The Celestial Martial Sect might not even know about this. Even if they did, they wouldn't be afraid of the Celestial Martial Sect in the Liang Mountain True Dominion. Furthermore, Xinyuqing and Xinyuhua were very useful to Yuan Zong. Or else, if Luo Jiang and the others spoke politely, it wouldn't be a problem to hand them over. However, what Yuan Zong lacked now was such special talents. Otherwise, if the materials collected by players and others were sold directly, the profit would be too great. Furthermore, if a sect didn't have its own alchemy and casting methods, Qin Shujian would feel that something was missing. Apart from the small accident with Luo Jiang and the others along the way, the rest of the journey didn't have any twists and turns. After about 2 or 3 days, Qin Shujian finally brought the two of them back to Yuan Zong. The construction of the city had already begun to take shape. Thousands of odd job workers were working in full swing. It was also a rather grand scene. Among them, there were inner energy cultivators and other sect members helping to transport the materials. When he saw this scene, he was shocked. Xinyuqing was shocked as she asked uncertainly, "This is building a city?" "Yes." Qin Shujian made a soft sound of acknowledgement, which could be considered as an answer. Instantly, Xinyuqing's heart trembled again. Building a city! That was something only a true sect had the qualifications to do. Or else, any random sect building a city would only be a joke to increase the number of people. When the Elixir Tripod sect was at its peak, it also had its own city. Unfortunately, after the Elixir Tripod sect fell, the city gradually became abandoned. When the two of them stepped onto Liang Mountain, they were shocked again. The dense spirit chi in the air made them feel as if they were going to a spirit domain sect and not a true dominion sect. "Sect Master!" "Disciple greets Sect Master!" Along the way, all the disciples of Yuan Zong who saw Qin Shujian stopped in their tracks and bowed. Very soon, Qin Shujian arranged for the two of them to stay first. The next day, he formally gathered all the elders in the inherited martial hall. Xinyuqing and Xinyuhua were among them. Looking at the two unfamiliar faces that had suddenly appeared, many people revealed puzzled expressions. When Qin Shujian arrived, everyone stood up and bowed. "Greetings, Sect Master! Sit down!" After Qin Shujian sat down on the main seat, he looked at Xinyuqing and Xinyuhua and said, This time, when I went to the Mystic Void True Dominion, I met 2 experts who are proficient in alchemy and forging. Therefore, I specially let them enter the Yuan Zone and hold the position of Intersect Elder. At the same time, I opened 2 halls for alchemy and forging, which will be presided over by Elder Xingyuqing and Elder Xingyuhua. After he finished speaking, the 2 of them immediately stood up and cupped their fists towards the crowd. I am Xingyuqing, Xingyuhua. Greetings, elders. Elder Yuqing, Elder Yuhua, is too polite. Everyone had already cupped their fists in return. Although they did not know much about alchemy and forging. Since the 2 of them could make Qin Shujian pay so much attention to them, they must have their own unique points. Moreover, the 2 of them were inner energy realm cultivators and could not hide from their eyes and ears. Coupled with their young faces, even if they were not proficient in alchemy and forging, they were still cultivation geniuses. Soon after, Qin Shujian also introduced the situation of the Yuan Zone to Xingyuqing and Xingyuhua. After choosing 2 places in Liang Mountain as the locations for the alchemy and forging halls, this matter could be considered to have come to an end. Very quickly, there were a few new missions in the mission hall. One was to recruit alchemy apprentices for the alchemy hall. The other was to recruit alchemy apprentices for the forging hall. These 2 missions were naturally issued by Xingyuqing and Xingyuhua. Whether it was alchemy or forging, it was not something that could be done easily by one person. Recruiting alchemy apprentices was something that was inevitable. Moreover, Qin Shujian also revealed it. He hoped that the 2 of them could recruit some alchemy apprentices and nurture them. These 2 missions also attracted the attention of many players. After all, alchemy and forging were simply too rare. Very few players would be involved in these 2 areas. However, very few would be involved. It did not mean that the players had never heard of it. Therefore, when the 2 missions were issued, many people immediately accepted them. 5 days passed. Another piece of news shook the entire Yuan Zone a few times. That was, using contribution points, one could exchange for the corresponding alchemy. After taking it, one could increase one's cultivation level and break through to the next realm. This is the legendary Yuan increasing alchemy. Zhao Hua looked at the alchemy that he had spent 500 contribution points to exchange for and was shocked. Yuan increasing alchemy. This was also known as the experience pill among the players. Actually, many alchemy pills that could increase one's cultivation level could be considered as a type of experience pill among the players. However, the Yuan increasing alchemy was the most famous. However, the price to pay for the alchemy was too high. Any player who wanted to obtain the alchemy could only spend a large amount of money to buy it from the trading company or other places. Zhao Hua had only heard of the name of the alchemy. To actually obtain it, this was the first time. Without hesitation, after swallowing the Yuan increasing alchemy, a powerful force suddenly erupted from within his body. The progress bar of Yuan Dian's cultivation method on the attribute panel also rose rapidly. Very quickly, it reached a critical point. Boom! A powerful aura suddenly erupted, but then disappeared without a trace. Looking at Yuan Dian, who had steadily stopped at the 10th level, Zhao Hua's face revealed a carefree smile. 10th level of the basic realm. 1 Yuan increasing alchemy almost raised an entire realm. As expected of the experience pill. If he could obtain a few more Yuan increasing alchemy, he would definitely be able to break through to the real martial realm. In the current group of players, the real martial realm was the mainstream and also the peak. However, looking at the contribution points that were already close to single digits, Zhao Hua's smile gradually disappeared and became somewhat helpless. The Yuan increasing alchemy was good. It was just that the contribution points were a bit useless. After working so hard for so long, the 500 contribution points that he had saved up were all gone in one mouthful. The only thing worth rejoicing about was, his strength had increased. Then, the chances of obtaining contribution points in the future would be greater. At this moment, many people in Yuan Zone were like Zhao Hua. When the alchemy pills appeared, they directly bought them and consumed them. for a time. However, everyone who consumed the alchemy pills had their strength increased by a lot. Chapter 205. Returning to Yuan Sect. Qin Shujian changed the mission reward of finding the demon disaster. He increased the original 50 contribution points to 200 points. At the same time, he added another mission to the list. That was, find the sealed evil demon. If he wanted to obtain luck points, he had to destroy the sect and steal the sect's spiritual item. Or he had to enter the new ordinary realm and obtain the connate spiritual item. And finally, kill the evil demon. The first method was obviously not feasible. Now that the Great Zhao was in turmoil, the Baiyun prefecture was still stable. Marquis Baiyun would definitely not cause chaos in the Baiyun prefecture. If Yuan sect wantonly destroyed the sect and caused panic, the imperial court would probably come and talk to him. Yuan sect was powerful, but it was not as powerful as the imperial court. Qin Shujian was well aware of this fact. Furthermore, he did not have any thoughts of going against the imperial court. It was good to enjoy the shade under a big tree. If the Zhao was safe and sound, then Yuan Zong would be able to develop steadily and increase his strength step by step. But if the Great Zhao was in turmoil and even fell apart, the entire Great Zhao 13 prefectures would be in turmoil. Yuan sect wanted to stay out of this. But there was no possibility. However, according to Qin Shujian's estimation, Marquis Qianshan should not be able to shake the foundation of the Great Zhao. As for the rebellions of the other Marquis, it was just a small matter. As long as Marquis Qianshan was dealt with, then the other problems would be just a small problem. Lingchuan Ordinary Realm. A group of 5 or 6 players walked in a large canyon. Occasionally, rocks would roll down and crows would cry. The faint fog above the canyon blocked the sunlight, making this place even more eerie. Are you sure it's here? Xiao Junyi looked at the environment in front of him and turned to ask another player. Wang Gang nodded and said, that should be it. According to the situation on the forums, evil demons generally live in dangerous environments. Moreover, the NPC who gave me the quest should be the evil demon spokesperson mentioned on the forums. Evil demon spokesperson. This was the title given by the players themselves. The reason was, there was a mysterious NPC who would often issue quests to unseal evil demons. Anyone who accepted this quest would be killed by the evil demons that broke out of their seals. Following that, the evil demons were born, causing a demonic calamity that harmed a large number of players. Over time, the NPC who had issued the quest was hung up by other players. When he died, it immediately attracted a lot of victims. Gradually, just like that, the title of Devil's spokesperson spread. At this point, the first thing all players who encountered the demon's spokesperson did was not to accept the quest, but to think of a way to eliminate the demon's spokesperson. This was to prevent other brainless players from accepting the quest and releasing the demon. It was a pity. The devil's spokesperson was terrifyingly strong. It was fine if the players didn't make a move, but the other party wouldn't reveal any tricks. But as soon as he made his move, no matter how many players came, they would all die. In the past, there had been players from other novice villages. They had gathered all the players in the 7th stage of the martial realm and above from other novice villages in the ordinary realm. There had been over 10,000 people besieging the evil demon's spokesperson. In the end, all of them ended up being wiped out. Ever since then, everyone who met the devil's spokesperson would keep a respectful distance from him. At the same time, some players had discovered a problem. The devil's spokesperson seemed to only appear in the ordinary realm. No one in the True Dominion had ever encountered him. Previously, when Wang Gang had gone to other ordinary realms to kill monsters, he had met the devil's spokesperson by chance. However, he hadn't intended to accept the quest at the time. Therefore, he had turned and left. Although the Origin sect still had a quest to find the demonic calamity. The reward for the quest was only 50 contribution points. If the evil demons were released, they would be able to create a demonic calamity. However, they would have to bear the risk of being killed by the evil demons that broke out of the seal. This wasn't worth it. 50 contribution points were quite a lot. However, as the realms of the current players gradually increased, the price of dying once was also very serious. Using the risk of losing a level in exchange for 50 contribution points was not worth it no matter how he thought about it. However, this time, it was completely different. The contribution points for finding the evil demons that were sealed were as high as 500 contribution points. Furthermore, they had to find the evil demons that were sealed. They didn't need to release the seal. They only needed to find the location of the evil demons that were sealed. This way, the danger of the evil demons breaking out of the seal would no longer exist. The ordinary realm where the devil's spokesperson appeared must have a place where the evil demons were sealed. In the entire Ling Chuan ordinary realm, only this place is the most strange and dangerous. Wang Gang looked at the surrounding environment and said as he walked, "There are many powerful monsters ahead. If it weren't for my lack of strength, I wouldn't have asked you guys to cooperate. You alone aren't strong enough. However, with the help of the few of us, it won't be a big problem. 500 contribution points are enough to exchange for one essence strengthening elixir. After obtaining the reward this time, I should be able to break through to the true martial realm." The other players were in a good mood. Ever since elixirs had existed, the value of contribution points had skyrocketed once again. After all, cultivation techniques and martial arts require time to cultivate and didn't require frequent comprehension. However, elixirs were definitely considered daily consumables. Regardless of whether they were used to heal injuries, they could also increase one's cultivation level. These were all things that the players needed. As the few of them chatted, their footsteps didn't slow down. They gradually walked deeper into the canyon. All of a sudden, there seemed to be the sorrowful cries of crows and the whistling of the wind. Immediately after, a group of dense black shadows flew over from afar. A rotten aura hit them in the face. "Be careful! These are the monsters in the canyon!" Wang Gang shouted in a low voice. His expression also became serious. Previously, he explored the canyon. It was because he encountered these things that he had no choice but to forcefully retreat. Just a bit more. At that time, he had completely died in the hands of these monsters. Hearing Wang Gang's words, the others' expressions also became serious. When they looked at the group of black shadows, as the black shadows approached, they finally saw their true appearance. Bats. A group of bats whose bodies had been corroded and looked like corpses. Profound Insight Technique. Immediately, one of the players used the Profound Insight Technique. The attributes of the bats immediately appeared in his eyes. It was a necessary method to kill monsters. Many players had already learned the Profound Insight Technique. However, in any team that formed a team to kill monsters, there would be a player who learned the Profound Insight Technique. The purpose was to investigate the attributes of the monsters. Ghost bats. Their strength is mostly between the 3rd and 5th stage of the martial realm. However, there are too many of them. I can't see all of them clearly. Kill! After receiving the message, Xiao Junyi and the others no longer hesitated. They had already unsheathed the weapons in their hands. Cold Jinqi exploded in an instant as they charged towards the incoming ghost bats. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Sword light and saber light flashed. In an instant many ghost bats were torn apart. Their bodies exploded into layers of dark green mist, which made Xiao Junyi and the others change their expressions. Quick, take the poison prevention pill! After saying that, Wang Gang took the lead to take out a poison prevention pill and consumed it. His originally somewhat dispirited aura also recovered in an instant. Immediately after, the others also took out poison-repelling pills and consumed them. Then, they waved their swords and charged at the ghost bats. The poison avoidance pill was divided into 2 tiers. The former was worth 5 contribution points. The latter cost 20 contribution points. What they were consuming now was a Tier 1 poison prevention pill. In the canyon, the killing continued. The ghost bats were generally not strong, but the teammates that Wang Gang found this time were all in the 10th stage of the basic realm. Logically speaking, it should not be a problem for them to deal with the ghost bats together. However, there were simply too many ghost bats. No matter how they killed, the number of ghost bats did not decrease at all. There are too many of these ghost bats. Let's continue to push forward. Let's break through first. Xiao Junyi suddenly shouted. As he broke through, he took the time to look at his attribute panel. Damn! The cultivation method progress bar barely moved. It should be noted that there were at least dozens of ghost bats that had died in his hands, if not hundreds. Looking at it this way, the amount of experience points that the ghost bats could contribute was shockingly low. Hearing Xiao Junyi's words, the other players did not object. Then, they all worked together to break through the ghost bats. After 20 minutes, a gap was finally created in the dense swarm of ghost bats. Xiao Junyi and the others looked at the ghost bats that were gradually disappearing behind them. Their originally anxious hearts finally relaxed a little, but they were still panting heavily. Damn it! There are too many of these ghost bats. One of the players wiped the sweat off his forehead and complained helplessly. The 20 minutes just now was like purgatory. If he had not taken 2 or 3 energy recovery pills, he would have died in the hands of those ghost bats. Although the 10th stage of the martial arts realm was powerful, their strength was not infinite. Moreover, although the ghost bats were generally not strong, their attacks were extremely fierce. Even if one had copper skin and iron bones, they could not block their attacks. Now that they had rushed out of the swarm of ghost bats, almost everyone was injured. No one was unscathed. Fortunately, these ghost bats did not have the intention to chase after them. They attacked them because they were blocking the path of the ghost bats. After a short rest, the few of them continued to move towards the canyon. After the previous experience with the ghost bats, everyone's face was solemn. They did not dare to relax at all. If they encountered the ghost bats a few more times, it was very likely that they would all be wiped out. After all, the amount of energy recovery pills that they had prepared was limited. Once they were caught in the endless attacks, they would be exhausted and die. What monsters are there ahead? Xiao Junyi tilted his head and asked. Wang Gang shook his head and said, I don't know. Last time, I was forced to retreat by the ghost bats. As for what comes after the ghost bats, it depends on luck. Damn! After cursing in his heart, Xiao Junyi did not say anything more. As they continued to go deeper, the danger that they had anticipated did not appear. It was as if in the entire canyon, there was nothing but this swarm of ghost bats. Chapter 206. In the depths of the canyon, a broken 7-star array was carved on the ground, as if it had existed naturally. 7 ancient bronze pillars stood on the 7-star array. A desolate and ancient aura filled the air. This should be the place where the demon is sealed. Wang Gang looked at the tall bronze pillars and the 7-star array carved on the ground. There seemed to be traces of dark brown blood that could not be wiped away. You have found a mysterious altar! Meanwhile, everyone received the system's prompt. Xiao Junyi was slightly shocked when he saw the 7-star array. Then, he said happily, the mysterious altar is where the demon is sealed. It seems like this is the place. We can go back and submit the mission now. After a short moment of shock, Wang Gang smiled. Finding the mysterious altar was equivalent to finding the sealed demon. Based on this alone, it was enough for them to go back and submit the mission. No one had thought of releasing the demon. Compared to the 200 contribution points for discovering the demon disaster, obviously, the 500 contribution points for finding the sealed demon were more worth it. Plus, there were no risks. After memorizing the location, the few of them immediately rushed back. At the origin sect, Qin Shujian was cultivating peacefully. His life force source was increasing every second. His strength was also increasing steadily. As time passed, he was getting closer to the limits of the true dominion. The shackles of the true dominion that existed in the unseen world had almost materialized. When he looked at it with his spirit eye, a black net gradually formed in the sky. 20,000 points of life force source had been consumed. The Great Dream Spirit Capture technique had been upgraded to the 7th level of the true martial section, and his quintessential essence had increased slightly. His dantian was now overflowing with quintessential essence. The amount of quintessential essence that could be increased with each level of the cultivation technique was not as much as before. However, every time it was upgraded, his dantian trembled a few times, and his liquefied quintessential essence seemed to undergo some subtle changes. Qin Shujian had originally planned to cultivate the Great Dream Spirit Capture technique to the 10th level of the true martial section in peace. However, someone had submitted a mission to find the sealed demon, so he had no choice but to stop cultivating. "Have you found the location of the demon?" In the Qingwu Hall, Qin Shujian looked at the few people standing before him and asked in a deep voice. Wang Gang lowered his head and cupped his hands. "Reporting to Sect Master, we found a mysterious bronze altar in the depths of the Lingchuan Ordinary Realm Grand Canyon. If I'm not wrong, it should be the place where the demons are sealed." Beside him stood Xiao Junyi and the others. Standing in front of Qin Shujian at such a close distance, they were also under a lot of pressure. There was no other reason. It was only because Qin Shujian's cultivation had become increasingly profound that he would faintly emit some aura. "All right." Qin Shujian nodded and said, "Give me your mission tokens." "Yes." Wang Gang and the others were overjoyed. They took off their mission tokens and handed them to Qin Shujian. He glanced at their ID badges. They were all inner disciples. With a thought, Qin Shujian added 500 contribution points to each of the 6 people's identity badges. He then returned the badges. Seeing Wang Gang and the others leave with happy faces, he had a faint smile on his face. Originally, a mission only gave 500 contribution points. Moreover, it was limited to 5 people submitting at the same time. Wang Gang and the others had a total of 6 people, so one of them should not be rewarded. However, Qin Shujian was in a good mood after receiving the news about the demon. He simply gave them more rewards. Subsequently, he went directly to the peak of Mount Liang. Now, this place had become a cultivation treasure for the heaven and earth bow and cloud-piercing arrow. The spirit stones buried below were slowly changing the concentration of spirit energy in Mount Liang. However, it was not effective in a short period of time. It needed to be done slowly and subtly. Noticing Qin Shujian's arrival, the heaven and earth bow immediately stopped absorbing spirit energy. An old voice came from the bow. "Sect Master! Let me ask you, if you want to release the demon, what do you need to do?" The heaven and earth bow thought it heard wrong. Release the demon. What was its Sect Master doing? Seeing the heaven and earth bow fall silent, Qin Shujian's expression turned ugly. He said coldly, "Don't tell me you don't know how to break the seal and release the demon?" His cold tone made the heaven and earth bow's heart tremble. At this moment, it did not dare to hesitate and immediately replied, "Although the demon's seal is very strong, it is also very weak. As long as we collect the blood of living creatures, the seal can be broken. However, the stronger the seal, the more blood of living creatures is needed. Of course, if we have the blood of an expert, we can break the seal directly. If we use the blood of others to break the seal, what will happen to the person who contributed the blood?" Ah? The heaven and earth bow was obviously stunned. However, it still replied truthfully, "That person should not have any other problems besides losing some blood." Hearing this, Qin Shujian understood in his heart. He did not forget that the demon broke the seal on the immortal plains. However, at that time, the Mount Liang True Dominion was only an ordinary dominion. Therefore, the blood used to release the demon was not likely to belong to an expert of the true martial realm or above. This also meant that, back then, only the blood of basic martial realm experts was used to break the seal. The blood of a basic martial realm cultivator could break the seal. Therefore, the blood of a real martial realm cultivator must be more powerful. Thinking of this, Qin Shujian asked again. The yuan corroding bone powder is extremely corrosive. What can be used to store it? The yuan corroding bone powder corrodes things with spirituality. If you want to store the yuan corroding bone powder, you can use the silver in the hands of mortals. Although the yuan corroding bone powder is strong, it cannot corrode silver. Silver! Qin Shujian nodded slightly. He thought that to store the yuan corroding bone powder, they would need to use some precious treasure. If they only use silver, then it would not be a big problem. How is the piercing cloud arrow recovering? It is almost done. The heaven and earth bow's tone was somewhat happy. The piercing cloud arrow was about to recover. Thus, its usefulness was even greater. Very good! Qin Shujian also had a bright smile on his face. In the Grand Canyon, Qin Shujian looked at the huge seven-star formation in front of him, as well as the 7 erected bronze pillars. His eyes were also filled with amazement. Entering the Lingchuan ordinary realm. Although his strength was suppressed to the 10th level of the basic martial realm. With his powerful perception, even if it was suppressed, he could still feel the power of the mysterious altar in front of him. When his eyes looked over, he could only see a hidden light floating above the 7-star formation, but he could not see any demonic aura. Shortly after, Qin Shujian activated his true qi, and his spiritual eye flashed once again. Immediately, in his eyes, he could only see a vast and terrifying demonic aura wreaking havoc below the 7-star formation. That demonic aura seemed to have sensed that something was spying on it, and immediately became berserk. However, under the suppression of the 7-star formation, it was unable to create any waves. However, it was only for a moment. Qin Shujian withdrew the true qi gathered in his spiritual eye, and a carefree smile appeared on his face. Such a dense demonic aura! This place is indeed suppressing an evil demon! Then, a bow and arrow suddenly appeared in his hand, and he asked, You said that as long as I pour my blood into the 7-star formation, the seal will be broken and the evil demon will be released? Yes. Yes. The heaven and earth bow wanted to cry, but no tears came out. It regretted saying that the cloud-piercing arrow was almost repaired. It had never expected that Qin Shujian was really going to release the evil demon. Furthermore, in the end, he still brought it along. As an innate spiritual object, and an antique that had lived for thousands of years, the heaven and earth bow was very clear about the terror of the evil demon. It was merely a middle-grade spiritual artifact. Even if it added a cloud-piercing arrow, it would still be no match for an evil demon. There was a greater possibility. It would be directly captured by the evil demon, and then devoured and turned into a part of the demonic aura. In the heaven and earth bow's memory, innate spiritual objects were also very tempting to the evil demon tribe. Devouring them might even increase their cultivation. However, although the heaven and earth bow was afraid, it did not dare to say anything to stop him. After all, Qin Shujian looked like he was going to do it no matter what. It was afraid that if it tried to stop him, it would be destroyed in the next instant. Stopping him meant death. Not stopping him meant death. However, the former was definitely going to die, while the latter still had a slight chance of survival. The heaven and earth bow could only place its hopes on Qin Shujian. It believed that if he was confident in releasing the evil demon, he would definitely be confident in dealing with it. However, there was one thing it still did not understand. Why did he have to release the evil demon for no reason? Was it purely for the pleasure of killing the evil demon? Just as the heaven and earth bow was letting its imagination run wild, Qin Shujian had already walked to the front of the 7-star formation. Then, he took out a large jar that was half the height of a person from his storage ring. There was something inside. It was the blood of inner aura cultivators. There were so many inner aura cultivators in Yuan sect. A little blood from each of them was enough to make a large jar. And it would lose a little blood. It would not have much effect on inner aura cultivators. Pulling out the stopper, A thick smell of blood mixed with a faint spiritual energy spread out from within. The blood of inner aura cultivators already contained a lot of spiritual energy of heaven and earth. Then, Qin Shujian tilted the jar. Dark red blood flowed out from the mouth of the jar and gathered in the seven-star formation. Buzz! The blood entered the seven-star formation, causing the entire altar to tremble violently. The 7 huge bronze pillars seemed to be faintly dyed with the color of blood. At this moment, the entire seven-star formation was dyed red with blood. The entire canyon seemed to be trembling at this moment. Crack! In the sky, purple lightning danced like wild snakes. A vast heavenly might, and a terrifying aura of destruction were brewing within. Sect Master, it's best to retreat. The birth of the evil demon is not tolerated by heaven and earth. If you get too close, you may be affected by heaven's wrath. The heaven and earth Bao's voice sounded at the right time. There was no need for it to say anything. The moment the lightning appeared in the sky, Qin Shujian had already retreated a considerable distance. Then, he took out the 1,000 mountain blood. At the same time, he released the restrictions on the heaven and earth bow and the cloud-piercing arrow. When the evil demon comes out, shoot him directly. Chapter 207. Thunder rumbled in the sky. Demonic chi surged within the seven-star array, causing the entire canyon to tremble violently. Boom! An inhuman palm suddenly broke through the barrier of the demonic chi and the altar, appearing in the outside world. Crack! Lightning struck from the sky. Demonic chi exploded. The terrifying lightning struck the demonic chi. The demonic chi tumbled violently as if it was facing a terrible threat. Then, the sky was filled with thunderbolts. They gathered together like a sea of thunder, completely enveloping the altar. Qin Shujian stood in the distance, watching this scene. The destructive aura overflowing from the lightning made his expression solemn. Lightning was a new life. But it was also destruction. He didn't think that lightning could destroy the evil spirit, but he didn't take the opportunity to attack. Because the evil spirit hadn't completely appeared. Lightning was falling from the sky. If he attacked now, he would be targeted by the sky, and then he would be struck as well. Qin Shujian wasn't afraid of being struck by lightning. But if he was targeted, it would definitely be troublesome. Rumble! Lightning continued to fall. However, the demonic chi underground seemed to be endless. It constantly swarmed up from below, and eroded the surrounding land. Even the lightning couldn't completely penetrate the terrifying demonic chi. All of a sudden, a hand directly penetrated through the demonic aura and grabbed the thunderbolt that was descending. Immediately it shattered it. Buzz! A terrifying and vast aura burst out in an instant. As if meeting a king, the demonic chi surged wildly, and the entire seven-star array was completely shattered. Through the demonic chi, a terrifying figure could be seen crawling out of the seal. Lightning crazily struck from the sky, but it couldn't do anything to the demonic chi at all. A bleak and ancient voice rang out, accompanied by endless bloodlust and evil. I'm finally back! Kill! As soon as the iron-blooded voice fell, the power of the 1,000 mountain blood in the sky surged. The Thunderbolt Tao seal appeared, encircling the crystal blade with terrifying lightning. Then, an unparalleled thunderbolt blade directly cut through the layers of demonic chi and slashed toward the huge figure. Tao artifact! The evil spirit's expression suddenly changed. Looking at the thunderbolt blade that destroyed the demonic chi, it was shocked. But soon, another cold light that pierced through the void appeared. The Qianquan Bao also shot out a cloud-piercing arrow when Qian Shanxue slashed out with his blade. Meanwhile, Qin Shujian stepped into the air, and his hands suddenly made a gesture. The vast true qi in his dantian was instantly emptied, and a body that seemed to have existed since ancient times condensed in the void. When the seal fell, the ancient body also pressed down with a palm. That aura that seemed to have transcended the ages directly bombarded the demonic chi, causing it to dissipate. Then, it fell on the evil spirit. It only took a moment. Qin Shujian unleashed all of his power. The terrifying attack completely engulfed the evil spirit, and one could vaguely hear the evil spirit's unwilling roar. It was as if an instant had passed. It also felt like a long time had passed. The lightning in the sky suddenly disappeared. The surging demonic chi seemed to have lost its main body. It suddenly calmed down and slowly dissipated. "You killed the demon! You have received 10 luck points!" The system's message made Qin Shujian's originally serious expression immediately relax. Qian Shanshue's Dao seal, which was hanging in the sky, retracted and returned to the scabbard on his back. As for the demonic chi, a cold light also rolled back, and when it flew back, it turned back into the cloud-piercing arrow. Dead? The Qianquan Bao was still in a state of confusion. It was not that it had never seen how terrifying the evil spirit was. Even if the evil spirit had just broken out of its seal and was suppressed by the ordinary realm, it should not be underestimated. After all, in the same realm, the evil spirit was not invincible, but it was definitely difficult to deal with. As a result, in less than one exchange, or rather, the evil spirit did not even have a chance to show its face, and it was directly blasted into pieces. Looking at the scattered yuan corroding bone powder on the ground, the Qianquan Bao thought that it was in a dream. Qin Shujian took out a silver box and went forward to put a part of the yuan corroding bone powder in it. At this time, the demonic chi had no master. It was spreading and spreading little by little. Qin Shujian took out Qian Shanshue's Dao seal, and the Thunder Dao seal expanded greatly, enveloping all the demonic chi that was spilling out, and then dissipating it at a speed that was visible to the naked eye. A moment later, the canyon was clear and bright. Even the fog that had been lingering in the sky all day long had dissipated at this time. The sunlight poured down, and directly dispelled all the darkness. The place where the evil spirit was originally born, the 7-star formation had long been broken, and the 7 bronze pillars had also collapsed, leaving behind a bottomless pit. At this time, the dried-up true chi had also slowly recovered. Looking at the pit below and the broken appearance of the altar, Qin Shujian directly used true chi to bombard the surrounding mountain walls, and then used the Dao artifact to slash, directly causing the mountain walls on both sides of the canyon to collapse. Rumble! The rocks and soil that rolled down covered all traces of the battle. Including the small part of the land that was contaminated by the demonic chi, it was also buried. After Qin Shujian left, about more than half an hour later, people came one after another, and when they saw the mess in front of them, they all looked at each other, not understanding what had happened. The scene of the thunder before. Many people in Lingchuan Ordinary Region saw it. Some knowledgeable people thought that Lingchuan Ordinary Region's evil spirit had also broken out of the seal, and wanted to cause a demonic disaster. However, the thunder only existed for a short while before dissipating. They also did not feel the eruption of demonic chi. At this time, some people's faces were filled with confusion. In a deep abyss, there was a blood moon in the sky. The extremely dense demonic chi was spreading throughout the entire abyss. In the huge abyss, there were many terrifying auras spreading out. There were also many figures climbing along the abyss, trying to leave this place. At this time, the demonic chi in the abyss was turbulent and vast, and a tall figure was slowly born from the demonic chi. The blood moon in the sky poured moonlight, turning into a beam of light and entering it. This sudden turn of events, it immediately attracted the attention of other terrifying existences. Which evil spirit died and is now resurrecting in this demonic abyss? There have been a lot of evil spirits resurrecting recently. Including this one, it's already the 13th. Who knows what madness they have? In the past, they sealed the evil spirits, and now they are resurrecting in the demonic abyss. Voices echoed like demonic voices, shaking the demonic chi. 6 Desire's evil lord looked at his surroundings, which were strange yet familiar at the same time. Even now, he was still in a state of confusion. Who am I? Where am I? Who used the Tao artifact, and who shot the arrow? That palm print should be the Great Desolation devil-suppressing seal. The chaotic memories kept gathering, and finally, a monstrous anger erupted from Six Desires' evil lord's chest. Roar! He raised his head to the sky and roared. The sound waves caused the demonic chi to dissipate. Finally, the demon lord of Six Desires' eyes were revealed. It was as if flames were about to shoot out of his eyes. Humiliation! Absolute humiliation! The other party released him, and then used a thunderous method to kill him. From beginning to end. He, an evil spirit, did not even have the chance to fight back. He was directly killed by the concentrated attacks. Thinking of the Great Desolation devil-suppressing seal and the sharpness of the Tao artifact, Six Desires' evil lords still had some lingering fear. There was no reason for it. His palm touched his buttocks again, and then endless humiliation and anger surged in his heart. That arrow! Who shot it? Six Desires' evil lord's anger was noticed by the other evil spirits, and they could not help but mock him. You are so angry! Don't tell me you were tortured to death! If that's the case, it's a disgrace to the evil spirits! The mocking voices made the Six Desires' evil lord furious. His bell-sized eyes stared coldly at an evil demon. Who do you think you are? How dare you mock me? Defeated general, who do you think you are? You are courting death! Six Desires' evil lord's body suddenly moved, and his palm shook the void and blasted toward the evil spirit. However, the evil spirit shrouded in demonic chi was not afraid at all. It revealed a huge snake body entangled with the evil spirit. Boom! Boom! The bodies of the two evil spirits were dozens of feet tall. Although they were still small compared to the demon abyss, every attack caused the demonic chi to surge like waves, and the stone walls of the demon abyss trembled slightly. This scene? It immediately attracted the attention of the other evil spirits. Watching the battle between the two sides, many demons revealed looks of interest. The demon abyss was too lonely. It was so lonely that it looked the same for thousands of years. The evil demons could be said to be immortal. If they could not leave the demon abyss, they would have to endure eternal loneliness. So, any evil spirit was extremely cruel and bloodthirsty, and they were violent and evil. They were born this way, and under the influence of the demonic chi, their nature had been magnified many times. Fighting like this. It was very common in the demon abyss. Only this kind of battle could make the other evil spirits feel happy. Six Desires' evil lord did not care about the other evil spirits. He only had one thought in his mind, and that was to tear the evil spirit in front of him who dared to provoke him into pieces. Originally, he was humiliated by being killed in a single blow. He vented all of his anger on the evil spirit in front of him. There were no shackles in the demon abyss. Every evil spirit that was reborn in the demon abyss was able to display their true strength. Six Desires' evil lord's strength was extremely strong. Even if he had just been reborn and had not fully recovered, the strength he could display was not much weaker than an ordinary evil spirit. This battle had stirred up the devil abyss and caused it to buzz. Shocking roars and cold hisses. Many evil spirits showed a cruel and bloodthirsty look in their eyes. It was as if they had been infected. Gradually, the other evil spirits who were watching from the sidelines could not hold back anymore, and their terrifying bodies directly joined the battle. The terrifying aura instantly soared into the sky. Demonic chi filled the sky like smoke signals. Chapter 208. Was the Lord of Six Desires reborn in the demon abyss? To Qin Shujian, this had nothing to do with him. After all, he only wanted luck points. As for the rest, it had nothing to do with him. After returning from Lingchuan Fan Realm, Qin Shujian was in a good mood with 10 luck points. After returning to Yuan Sect, he put the bow of heaven and earth in his storage ring. Then, he took out the 1,000 mountain blood. He threw 10 luck points into it. Boom! Above Yuan sect, thunder rumbled again. A terrifying heavenly aura suddenly appeared. Xinyuhua, who was refining pills, suddenly trembled her hand. The flame under her control suddenly rose. The alchemy furnace in front of her made a loud noise. A burnt smell came from inside. Failed. Xinyuhua frowned slightly. It was not strange to fail in refining pills. Although she was already an upper-grade alchemist, there was a very low chance of failure even when refining pills of the first or second grade. What really caught her attention was the terrifying aura that had just appeared. When that aura swept over, this caused the true essence in her entire body to tremble. It was also because of this that she failed in refining pills. However, that aura only appeared for a moment and then disappeared without a trace. Xinyuhua could not find it at all. Then, she thought about it. There were many strong people in Yuan sect. She was only an inner aura cultivator. If she was not proficient in alchemy, she would not be qualified to sit in the position of an elder. If something really went wrong, those outer aura cultivators would take care of it. It was not her turn to intervene. Thinking of this, Xinyuhua opened the lid of the furnace and cleared out the waste dregs. Then, she began to refine new pills. It was similar to this situation. It was everywhere in Yuan sect. Many people's minds were shaken by this sudden pressure. However, some of the disciples of Yuan sect who were used to it recovered after a short moment of shock. Just like this heavenly aura. It would be emitted once in a while. It was probably because the sect master's cultivation had improved again. On the peak of Mount Liang. At this moment, another pattern appeared on Qian Shanshue's crystal blade. It was very close to the previous one, but there was still a long way to go before it could form a complete seal. After the 1-seal Dao artifact, it should be the 2-seal Dao artifact. Previously, I only spent more than 20 luck points and a connate fei to condense a 1-seal Dao artifact. Now I've spent more than 20 luck points on the foundation of a 1-seal Dao artifact, but I haven't even formed a half-seal. If that's the case, I'll need at least 50 points to condense the second seal. Qin Shujian didn't look too happy when he saw Qian Shanshue's power increase. Luck points were easy to obtain, but it was still very difficult. 10 luck points were thrown in. The Dao artifact had not been upgraded, and neither had his faction's rank. A 5th-grade force. Qin Shujian felt that this would be a hurdle. Once they crossed over, Yuan Zhong's overall strength would definitely soar. However, according to his guess, the true Dominion shouldn't be able to accommodate a 5th-grade force. Plus, there weren't enough disciples in Yuan Zhong now. Including the previous recruitment and the original disciples, Yuan Zhong only had about 2,500 people now. Of course, this didn't include the players. If the players were included, Yuan Zhong had about 7,000 to 8,000 people now. Qin Shujian didn't care too much about the handymen he had plundered. These people all had cultivation realms. It would be easier to nurture them than others. The only problem was their loyalty. He still had to slowly assess them. If they were suitable, he could directly upgrade them and save a lot of trouble. After upgrading Qian Shanxue, Qin Shujian released the cosmic bow and the cloud-piercing arrow. Sect Master, can you not put me in the storage ring in the future? The spirit chi there is scarce. It's easy to suffocate if I stay there for too long. You're a connate fei. Why are you afraid of suffocating? But it's very uncomfortable, the cosmic bow said helplessly. It really didn't like staying in the storage ring. If it hadn't been unbearable, it wouldn't have dared to ask this question. All right, I'll let you follow me in the future. Qin Shujian had no choice but to let him do as he pleased. After all, although this bow's strength was average, it was still useful. Most importantly, it had profound knowledge, which was the most precious thing to him. Then, Qin Shujian took out the essence-corroding bone powder and asked, How do I use this to find the location of the sealed evil fiends? The essence-corroding bone powder was formed by the evil fiends after they died. As long as it enters the area where the evil fiends are located, there will naturally be a reaction. The cosmic bow pondered for a moment before speaking. According to my estimation, the ordinary realm has the most evil fiends sealed and is the easiest to find. If it's in the true dominion, the seal won't be easy to find. Even if it's found, it won't be easy to break it. As for what the cosmic bow said, Qin Shujian agreed. If there was really an evil fiend seal in the true dominion, it would definitely be a serious matter. Or else, once the devil calamity occurred in the true dominion, a mere ordinary realm would not be able to compare to it. The true dominion was vast and had an upper limit of the 10th level true martial realm. If one wanted to suppress such a devil calamity, they would need to expend tens or even hundreds of times more energy than the ordinary realm. On the contrary, the reason the evil fiends sealed in the ordinary realm was not strictly guarded was because there were too many ordinary realms. If one took care of all the seals, it would inevitably disperse their strength. Secondly, even if a devil calamity occurred in the ordinary realm, it would not cause too much of a problem as long as it did not break through the shackles of the region. Just like what had happened in the desolate ordinary realm. If the ordinary realm had not been destroyed in a short time, it might not have attracted the attention of the Marquis of Northern Cloud. However, even so, the devil calamity had been suppressed in a short time. Since the imperial court could suppress the devil calamity, it was obvious that they were not afraid of it. The reason why they were so afraid, according to Qin Shujian's guess, this should be the reason why everywhere the fiendish qi passed by turned into a land of death. Looking at the additional source of life, he directly piled it on the Great Dream Spirit Capture technique. This cultivation technique was immediately deduced to the 8th level of the true martial section. With the yuan corroding bone powder, Qin Shujian no longer planned to peacefully cultivate on Liang Mountain. He wanted to take a pile of yuan corroding bone powder and embark on the long road to find the fiendish qi. However, just as this thought arose, he went directly to the casting hall and found Xin Yuqing, who was refining weapons. Compared to the dispirited look before, the current Xin Yuqing had a bit more confidence, as if she was recovering the spirit that the genius disciple of the Pill Cauldron sect should have. Since entering the Yuan sect, thus, he became an inner sect elder and took charge of the smithing hall. In addition to that, many disciples who wanted to learn the art of casting were also willing to enter the casting hall and become a casting apprentice. To this, Xin Yuqing naturally would not refuse. The Pill Cauldron sect had been destroyed, but he did not want the inheritance of the Pill Cauldron sect to be severed by him and Xin Yuhua. On the contrary, to be able to pass down the unique martial arts of the Pill Cauldron sect in the Yuan sect could be considered an alternative way to continue the inheritance. When Qin Shujian arrived, Xin Yuqing was guiding a few apprentices in the art of casting. Compared to other places, the temperature in the casting hall was also relatively higher. Seeing Qin Shujian arrive, Xin Yuqing immediately cupped her hands respectfully and said, "Xin Yuqing greets the sect master. Elder Xin, you don't have to be so polite. Sect master, why are you free to come to the casting hall today? Is there something wrong?" Xin Yuqing asked with a little surprise. Ever since the casting hall was built, Qin Shujian had not come even once. Now that he suddenly visited, Xin Yuqing would never believe that there was nothing wrong. Qin Shujian said, "I came here this time to hope that Elder Xin can cast a batch of pendants that can hold things. The style is about this." While speaking, he took out a drawing and handed it over. Xin Yuqing reached out and took it. Looking at the ingenious pendant drawn on the drawing, she could not help but exclaim, "Good drawing." Subsequently, he also looked at it seriously, then raised his head and asked, "There is no problem in casting such a pendant, but I don't know what kind of requirements the sect master has, or what kind of ability you want the pendant to have." The art of casting was not as simple as casting a weapon or armor. It also involved rune imprints and so on, which could be inlaid on certain items, making them have all kinds of magic. This was also the reason why a master of casting could cast spiritual weapons. In the end, it was because the material of the spiritual weapon was extraordinary, and then through excellent casting methods, It was inlaid with powerful rune imprints, which made it have extraordinary power. And this was the method of artificially casting spiritual weapons. Speaking of rune imprints, when Qin Shujian became an inferior casting master, he also knew a little, but definitely not as much as Xin Yuqing, an intermediate casting master. Hearing this, he shook his head and replied, "No need for any ability, just cast according to this style. The inside needs a center that can hold some powder, the only problem is probably the amount is a little too much." "I see." Xin Yuqing was relieved and smiled confidently. "These are just small problems. How much does the sect master need?" "Then 5,000. 5,000. Xin Yuqing almost thought that she had heard wrongly. The confident smile on his face had stiffened. Qin Shujian asked doubtfully, "Elder Shin, what's the problem?" No, I don't know when the sect master plans to ask for it. The sooner the better, and this batch of pendants must be cast with silver. As for how much silver is needed, you can communicate with Elder Su. I will tell him when the time comes." Hearing this, Xin Yuqing pondered for a while and finally nodded. 5,000 pendants is a large number. I will need about 10 to 15 days. If it is completed in advance, I will inform the sect master. Okay, then I will trouble Elder Shin with this matter. Sect master is too polite. Then I will leave first. Qin Shujian simply left, waving his sleeves and not taking anything with him, only leaving the blueprint. Xin Yuqing was left alone, looking at the blueprint in a daze. 5,000, as he said, was not a small number. Fortunately, the other party did not have any requirements for the grade, just making it into a pendant would do. In this way, even other apprentices in the casting hall could help to cast. In this case, there would be a lot of manpower. This was also the reason why Xin Yuqing dared to say that it would be completed in 10 to 15 days. On the other side, after coming out of the casting hall, Qin Shujian went down Mount Liang directly. He asked Xin Yuqing to cast those pendants so that they could store the yuan corroding bone powder and let the other disciples of the origin sect wear them, making it easier to find more locations of the evil fiend seals. However, 5,000 was not a small number. Xin Yuqing said that it would take half a month. During this period of time, Qin Shujian couldn't just sit and wait. Moreover, he had the yuan corroding bone powder on him. If he did not go out for a walk, he would feel sorry for himself. There were many places that bordered the true domain of Mount Liang. Especially after the 9-leaf ordinary domain was merged with the true domain of Mount Liang, the areas that it came into contact with had gradually expanded. A person walked on the ancient path with a saber on his back, a longbow floating beside him, as though an invisible hand was holding the bow. "It has been so many years, I almost forgot how long it has been since I last walked in the outside world. TSK, the spirit chi is still so thin, far worse than that of Mount Liang. This flower is not bad, it looks like it has the potential to give birth to sentience." The heaven and earth bow controlled the spirit chi of heaven and earth to support itself. It looked at its surroundings and sighed from time to time. It had been so many years. It had been enshrined by the Coiling Stone sect and had almost no chance to come into contact with the outside world. The only place it could see was the Coiling Stone sect's land. Most of the time, it stayed in the Great Hall. After it came to the Origin sect, it basically stayed on the peak of Mount Liang, silently absorbing the spirit chi of heaven and earth to cultivate. The heaven and earth bow had a chance to walk in the outside world like now. In its memory, it had been a long time since it had the chance. However, Qin Shujian's expression was slightly dark. Since they came out, the Cosmos Bow had been talking to itself non-stop. Even if it saw a cat or a dog, it would still be able to say a few words. Along the way, this had already attracted the attention of many people. Originally, a bow that could fly was amazing enough. However, a bow that could not only fly but also talk was a proper treasure. If Qin Shujian hadn't revealed it so openly, he would have been shocked. In addition, his cultivation was unfathomable. Perhaps someone would have already tried to snatch it. But even so, Qin Shujian also felt that there were many people following behind him. To this, although he couldn't be bothered to pay attention to them, he was really annoyed by the heaven and earth bow. If you talk a little more, don't blame me for throwing you into the storage ring and letting you accompany your piercing cloud arrow. Sect Master, you said you wouldn't put me into the storage ring. The heaven and earth bow was shocked. Qin Shuyan laughed and said, Do you think I'm someone who keeps my word? The heaven and earth bow fell into silence. It wasn't easy to come out. It was better not to seek death. The heaven and earth bow stopped talking. Qin Shujian finally felt that his ears were much quieter. When he took a step forward, there seemed to be a faint imprint. His figure disappeared on the spot like a gust of wind. As for the heaven and earth bow, it followed closely behind. The people who had been silently following Qin Shujian saw the figure in front of them disappear and couldn't help but reveal a stunned expression. Chapter 209. This time, Qin Shujian was going to the heaven-toppling ordinary realm. The heaven-toppling ordinary realm was close to the Lingchuan ordinary realm and was also close to the Liang Mountain True Domain. In terms of history, the heaven-toppling ordinary realm was around the same time as the Liang Mountain True Domain. It was the same when compared to the Lingchuan ordinary realm. Since the Liang Mountain True Domain and the Lingchuan ordinary realm both had sealed demons, then, according to Qin Shujian's guess, there must be suppressed demons in the heaven-toppling ordinary realm. So, he carried the yuan-corroding bone powder in his arms and resolutely embarked on the journey to the heaven-toppling ordinary realm. After entering the heaven-toppling ordinary realm, Qin Shujian realized that there were not many players here. As the game was open for a long time, players walked out of the novice village one after another. And when all the players left the novice village would completely disappear. This point, Qin Shujian had already silently observed the movements of the novice village of the Liang Mountain True Domain. This change, it made him understand. The existence of the novice village was completely different from the existence of the other forces in this world. Or else, how could the novice village appear from the appearance of the players and then quietly disappear? If this world was a game world, then the novice village was more like a program. The NPCs inside were more like intelligent NPCs in games. Everything was for the sake of the players. As for the other people in this world, they had 100% freedom in all aspects. They also had their own thoughts. They were fundamentally different from the NPCs in the novice village. All of a sudden, Qin Shujian realized that there was a faint warmth in his arms, as if something was burning. He couldn't help but take out the silver box. The box that should have been cold was now somewhat hot. The yuan-corroding bone powder is reacting. Although he had never seen the reaction of the yuan-corroding bone powder, it did not prevent him from knowing what was going on in front of him. The Cosmos Bao also said at the side, If the yuan-corroding bone powder reacts, it proves that there is indeed a sealed demon here. Sect Master can follow the direction of the source of the feeling to find it. After holding it in all the way, it finally found an opportunity to speak. Hearing this, Qin Shujian held the silver box in his hand and walked forward. But after walking for a while, not only did the heat from the silver box not continue to ferment, but it also gradually cooled down. Immediately, he stopped. The gradually decreasing reaction of the yuan-eroding bone powder in the box proved that he had gone in the wrong direction. After that, Qin Shujian walked back for a while and then changed direction. After repeating this several times, in the end, the reaction of the yuan-corroding bone powder did not subside. Instead, as he continued to advance, the silver box gradually became hot to the touch. Could it be that the evil spirit is sealed below? Looking down at the bottomless cliff, Qin Shujian felt the heat from the silver box in his hand and had a rough guess. Right now, he was on top of a cliff. This was according to the guidance of the silver box. That was the place he finally arrived at. Qin Shujian had walked through more than half of the entire heaven-toppling ordinary realm, and this was the only place with the highest possibility of sealing the evil demon. He looked down at the cliff. Qin Shujian directly jumped down from the sky. The distance between the top of the cliff and the bottom of the cliff was at least 3,000 feet. In addition, the fog spread and the sunlight could not completely penetrate, so he could not see the bottom at a glance. Now, when he landed, he could only see the steep stone wall of the cliff flying past his eyes. All of a sudden, a protruding stone wall suddenly jumped. It was a coiled python. As if it had sensed Qin Shujian's landing, it suddenly opened its bloody mouth and swallowed him. Swish! Swish! 2 long arrows condensed by spiritual energy pierced through the air, directly shooting into the python's mouth and then coming out from the back of its head. Roar! The python let out a mournful roar, and its huge snake body fell from the cliff powerlessly. There were only 2 small holes left by the spiritual arrows in its original position. As for Qin Shujian, he only glanced at the giant python briefly before shifting his gaze away. The python looked big, but it was only about the 8th level of the martial arts realm. The Qianquan Bao was once a spiritual weapon of the sect. Without using the cloud-piercing arrow, it was still a real middle-grade spiritual weapon. To kill the python of the 8th level of the martial arts realm, it did not require much effort. However, after a giant python was killed, the smell of blood seemed to spread out. The stone walls below began to squirm. One after another, giant pythons protruded from the stone walls and opened their mouths to devour Qin Shujian. When the Qianquan Bao's bowstring was automatically pulled, it extracted a large amount of spiritual energy and condensed it into an arrow and then shot it out. Bang! Another python was pierced through. It only took a breath of time. The Qianquan Bao condensed more than 30 spiritual arrows in one breath and shot out, killing any python that tried to get close to Qin Shujian. Bang! One python after another fell from the cliff, harvesting batch after batch of life sources. As he went deeper and deeper, Qin Shujian found that all the stone walls seemed to be condensed by pythons. The scene of all the squirming scales gave him goosebumps. Then, he saw an 8 trigrams looming under his feet. His falling momentum suddenly stopped. Then, he pulled out the 1,000 mountain blood. Under the surge of spiritual energy, the Thunder Dao seal was immediately activated. Terrifying lightning lingered on the crystal blade. Then, he slashed out with the blade. When the blade energy exploded in the air, it was accompanied by terrifying lightning that directly swept across the stone wall. An attack from a Dao artifact that could even kill demons. These pythons, who were only in the 8th stage of the martial arts realm, could not resist at all. When the lightning swept across, all the pythons that came in contact with it exploded into clouds of blood mist. And the pythons that were affected also fell from the stone wall. In less than a breath of time, a large part of the stone wall was emptied. At least hundreds of pythons fell. When Qin Shujian completely fell to the bottom of the cliff, he did not know how many pythons had died in his hands. Only the life sources had increased by tens of thousands. In order to calculate the respawn time, Qin Shujian deliberately stayed in the air for a while. When he fell to the bottom of the cliff, there were no more python corpses. Looking at the dim bottom of the cliff, Qin Shujian held the silver box in his hand and then walked in a random direction. Anyway, there were only 3 directions to go from the bottom of the cliff. If he was wrong, he could just explore in another direction. Since he was sure that the seal was here, then it was not a big problem to find it. Stepping on the dark and damp soil, Qin Shujian's ears were listening and his eyes were looking in all directions. He was always paying attention to the surrounding movements. The Bao of the cosmos followed closely behind. Occasionally some monsters appeared, but they were all killed by the Bao with 1 arrow. The bottom of the cliff was not big, but it was not small at all. In addition, after going back and forth, Qin Shujian spent about an hour to find the place where the demon was suspected to be sealed. looking at the hexagram array and the 6 bronze pillars in front of him. There was also confusion in his eyes. If I remember correctly, the evil devil in Ling Chuan ordinary realm should have a 7-star array. Why is it that the one sealed here is a 6-star array? Maybe it's a matter of the demon's strength. The bow of the cosmos on the side casually replied. Strength and weakness. So the seal was different. Now that he put it that way, it did make sense. Qin Shujian directly took out a jar from his storage ring, then walked in front of the seal. Looking at the hexagram array engraved on the ground, he directly poured the blood into it. In an instant, the blood completely penetrated the hexagram array. A terrifying blood-red light spread out from it, and the 6 bronze pillars were also eroded by the blood-red light. Then he saw the ground tremble slightly. Lightning lingered and gathered in the sky like wild snakes dancing wildly. In an instant, it covered the clouds and the sun. The moment the hexagram array broke, terrifying demonic energy erupted like a volcano eruption. A sharp claw reached out from the abyss and directly hooked onto the broken hexagram array. A terrifying body seemed to be about to appear from it. Crack! There was an explosion in the sky, and lightning poured down. The terrifying lightning directly bombarded the demonic energy, causing it to disperse. But soon, more demonic energy surged out of the seal, tangling with the lightning. 10 minutes later, with the dense bombardment of lightning, the demonic energy gradually spread out. A terrifying body finally walked out of the seal, and an evil and murderous aura instantly filled the air. Boom! A terrifying figure appeared out of thin air, and with a single palm strike, it suppressed all of the demonic chi, causing the evil spirit that was soaked in the demonic chi to raise its head. Immediately it raised its claw-like hand and slammed it toward the figure. At this moment, a ray of cold light seemed to pierce through the void, and with endless sharpness, it shot toward the evil spirit. Bang! Taking the great wilderness demon suppression seal head-on, the evil spirit's body suddenly sank by half. Then, the cloud-piercing arrow shot out, and directly pierced its chest. Roar! Roar! The great pain caused the evil spirit to roar in pain. However, a long crystal blade like the incarnation of lightning instantly slashed toward it. The terrifying power was like facing the might of the heavens, and it made the evil spirit's heart tremble. Looking at the Thunder Dao seal that was constantly enlarging in his eyes, the words Dao artifact just rose in his heart. He felt a terrible pain, and then his vision turned completely black, and he completely lost consciousness. In an instant, the thunder disappeared. Looking at the dissipating demonic energy and the yuan corroding bone powder on the ground, Qin Shujian also received the system's message. Another 10 luck points were in his account. The corners of his mouth curled into a smile. One evil spirit gave 10 luck points. 10 evil spirits gave him 100 luck points. Based on the vast landscape of the great Zhao country, there were definitely more than 10 evil spirits sealed inside. As long as he could find these evil spirits, and use the power of the Dao artifact to kill them before they fully recovered, he would be able to obtain luck points. Qin Shujian could predict. If they were to follow this plan, they would be able to do it. Not to mention a 5th grade force. Perhaps a 6th grade or 7th grade force would not be too far away. Chapter 210. In the Demon Abyss. Many demons were killing each other. Every single one of them was an extremely powerful existence. With the demon abyss behind them, they could be said to be immortal. Therefore, even if they fought all year round, the number of demons in the demon abyss never decreased. At this moment, the blood moon shone again. An evil demon was born from the demonic chi. A sudden change. This caused the other demons who were fighting to stop involuntarily. The blood moon moved. It meant that another evil demon was reborn. How long had it been? Another evil demon was reborn in the demon abyss. One had to know. In the past hundreds of years, not even one evil demon was reborn in the demon abyss. But now, in about half a year, more than a dozen evil demons were reborn. Although the rebirth was equivalent to removing the seal, in the eyes of the other evil demons, it was more like a humiliation. Since when? The evil demon clan could be slaughtered? After the battle, the Lord of Six Desires also vented a lot of his anger. He looked at the resurrected evil demon and immediately asked, "Who killed you?" "Thunder Dao Seal, Great Desolate Demon Suppression Seal, and it seems like a spiritual weapon sneak attack. I can't remember clearly." The newly resurrected evil demon was obviously not fully awake. He only answered instinctively to the Lord of Six Desires' words. "Thunder Dao Seal, Great Desolate Demon Suppression Seal, Spiritual Weapon Sneak Attack." If one of them was a coincidence, then all three were inevitable. Suddenly, the Lord of Six Desires' face darkened. "It's him again! It's that person again!" In a short period of time, a second evil demon was killed by the other party. As for the resurrected evil demon, after a short trance, he gradually woke up. Immediately, monstrous anger surged in his heart, and waves of angry roars came from the demon abyss. Marquis Bayon's mansion. At this moment, there was a letter on the table in the study in front of Marquis Bayon. It was recorded in detail. It was about the strange movements in Lingchuan Ordinary Realm and Tianxia Ordinary Realm. Thunder fell from the sky. The canyon collapsed again. All kinds of signs indicated that an evil demon broke the seal, but when he checked the scene, he didn't find any trace of demonic chi. Valley of the Dead, the bottom of the Snake Cliff. Looking at the two places written in the letter, Marquis Bayon frowned slightly. Others might not know. However, as the Marquis of North Cloud, he knew very well where the demons were sealed in North Cloud Mansion. These two places. It was indeed where the evil spirit was sealed. Moreover, the heavenly lightning mentioned in the letter was also a phenomenon caused by the birth of an evil spirit. However, what puzzled Marquis Bayon was that evil demon had broken the seal. However, there was no devil calamity. One must know that the nefarious devil clan was extremely bloodthirsty. It was impossible for them to leave so easily. More importantly, evil spirits were one of the sources of devil chi. As long as there were evil spirits, even if they didn't do anything, demonic chi would automatically infect everything in the surroundings and gradually turn it into a terrifying demonic domain. However, based on the current information, but it didn't conform to any common sense. The Marquis of Northern Cloud pondered for a moment before he said in a deep voice, "Men! Marquis, what are your orders?" A guard pushed the door open and entered. He bowed and cupped his hands. Marquis Bayon said, "Ask Xiaohan to come over." "Yes." The guard accepted the order and retreated. Very soon, Xiaohong entered the study and bowed with cupped fists. "This old servant greets the Marquis. Take a look." After he finished speaking, the letter in front of him floated up automatically and landed in front of Xiaohong without any movement from the Marquis of Northern Cloud. Xiaohong immediately reached out to take it and read the contents carefully. Then, he took 2 steps forward and returned the letter. Then, he said in a deep voice, "Evil demons should have broken the seal in these 2 places, but why didn't they cause a devil calamity? I think some experts killed the evil demons that broke the seal. However," at this point, Xiaohong pondered for a moment and then said, "There are very few people in the ordinary realm who can fight against the evil demons. Moreover, there are even fewer people who can kill the evil demons in a short time. If this old servant remembers correctly, Lingchuan Ordinary Realm and Tianxia Ordinary Realm should be close to the Liang Mountain True Dominion." At this point, he shut his mouth and didn't say anything. The Marquis of Northern Cloud didn't speak immediately. After a while, he said slowly, "Go and investigate the situation. This old servant accepts the order." Marquis Bayon's expression changed slightly when he saw Xiaohong leave. Just as Xiaohong said, these 2 places were close to the Liang Mountain True Dominion. Who was the most likely person to kill the evil demons? then it could only be the Liang Mountain Protectorate Lord. After all, those who could break through the shackles and become an area lord were people who had reached the peak of their realm. Even if Marquis Bayun did not use any extraordinary methods, he might not necessarily be a match for an area lord who had broken through the shackles in the ordinary realm. However, the Marquis of Northern Cloud couldn't understand. Why did the other party release the evil demons? Could it be? Was it purely to kill the evil demons? However, it was also because the other party killed the evil demons after releasing them and didn't cause a devil calamity. Or else, even if he cherished talents, he had no choice but to kill such a hidden danger. If it wasn't for the lack of experts who could kill the evil demons sealed in the Bayun Manor would have been eliminated long ago. Otherwise, if a devil calamity were to occur, it would be troublesome. The Marquis of Northern Cloud thought. Sealing evil fiends had its own hidden dangers. Killing the evil demons also had hidden dangers. In the past, sealing the evil demons was undoubtedly the best choice for the Bayun Manor. However, in the current turbulent situation of the Great Zhao Empire, what the Bayun Manor needed was an absolutely stable rear. Therefore, the sealed evil spirit had become an unstable factor. Once a devil calamity occurred, it would definitely be a big problem. Now that the Varian humans have descended from the sky and have an undying and indestructible body, if it wasn't for their low cultivation, they would be even more troublesome than the evil demons. Recently, there have been frequent devil calamities, and the ones who released the evil demons were mostly the Varian humans. The Marquis of Northern Cloud thought about how he had sent out troops to suppress the devil calamities during this period of time, and his expression didn't look too good. If it wasn't for the fact that the Varian humans were undying and indestructible, he didn't want to fall out with this race for the time being. Or else, he would have sent out troops to suppress all the Varian humans. Therefore, for the Varian humans, the Marquis of Northern Cloud could only use conciliatory methods for the time being. Fortunately, until now, the strongest Varian humans were only at the first level of the true martial realm. In his eyes, they were still insignificant and wouldn't have much of an impact on the current situation. On the other side, after killing the evil demons in the heavenly toppling ordinary realm, Qin Shujian collected the yuan corroding bone powder and then wandered around several ordinary realms nearby. In the end, he didn't find the altar that sealed the evil demons. This also made him understand. Not every ordinary realm would have an evil demon sealed within it. Perhaps when the ordinary realms were born, the evil demons that were born were directly killed. When he stepped into a new ordinary realm, Qin Shujian finally found a sealed evil demon. Then, the moment the evil demon was born, he directly used thunderous methods to kill it. After doing this, Qin Shujian finally finished his journey in several ordinary realms and rushed back in the direction of the true domain of Mount Liang. When he returned to the Yuan sect, a month had already passed. During this period, the Yuan sect's disciples had contributed more than 200,000 life sources. With such a huge base of life sources, Qin Shujian directly improved the dream spirit capture technique to the perfected stage of the true martial technique. At this point, Qin Shujian cultivated the 4 cultivation techniques to the perfected stage of the true martial technique. Even though his dantian had been expanded by the ocean origin returning technique, it had reached a limit at this time. In the forging hall, Xin Yuqing was forging weapons while imparting his experience to the apprentices beside him. Now, he was the only middle-grade blacksmith in the forging hall. In addition to that, there wasn't even a low-grade blacksmith. Whether it was imparting knowledge to the apprentices or forging weapons, he was basically the one who did it personally. In this regard, Xin Yuqing had no choice. If it was in the Pill Cauldron sect, under a middle-grade blacksmith, there were at least a few low-grade blacksmiths. Imparting these things to the apprentices, he didn't even need to do it personally, there were people under him to do it. Now, what Xin Yuqing wanted to do the most was to personally train a few low-grade blacksmiths. In this case, he also had time to make a breakthrough to become a high-grade blacksmith. After seeing Qin Shujian's arrival, Xin Yuqing directly abandoned the other apprentices and stepped forward to salute, and said, "Sect Master! Elder Xin, I wonder if the 5,000 pendants have been completed? Fortunately, I didn't disappoint you." Xin Yuqing smiled and said. Then, he turned sideways and said to Qin Shujian, "Sect Master, please follow me." After that, he took a step forward and walked into the forging hall. Qin Shujian also followed behind him. Although the forging hall was a hall, it was also divided into many places. There was an inner hall for receiving guests, a forging room for forging, a living place, and a warehouse for storage. The place where Xin Yuqing was going now. It was the warehouse for the forging hall. Entering the warehouse, there was a dense pile of pendants on the ground, the style of which was exactly the same as on Qin Shujian's blueprint. Xin Yuqing said, "Because there are too many pendants, there is no special place in the forging hall to accommodate them, so they are piled up here. There are a total of 5,000 pendants. Sect Master, please take a look." Hearing that, Qin Shujian casually took a pendant and saw that there was a small lid on the pendant. If he unscrewed it, he could see that there was a small hole that could accommodate some small things. Seeing this, he also showed a satisfied look on his face and said with a smile, "Elder Xin has worked hard this time. Elder Xin, please give me your identity token." Xin Yuqing immediately took out the identity token and handed it to Qin Shujian with both hands. He reached out and took the identity token. Qin Shujian glanced at the attributes inside, then with a thought, added 500 contribution points to the original one, and then returned it to Xin Yuqing. "I believe that it took Elder Xin a lot of time to make 5,000 pendants. 500 contribution points is the reward for this matter." "Thank you, Sect Master." Chapter 211. After obtaining 5,000 pendants, Qin Shujian asked people to fill them with corroding bone powder. From then on, Yuan Zong had one more item to exchange for. Name, Evil Demon Pendant Contribution Points, 1000 Introduction. Wearing it can greatly increase the probability of finding the seal of the evil demon. F***CK, 1000 contribution points for an evil demon pendant. A mission to find the sealed evil demon only gives 500 contribution points. This is crazy. Seeing the price of the evil demon pendant, many players complained. 1000 contribution points. This was completely black-hearted to the extreme. If one was alone, one needed to find at least 2 sealed evil demons to exchange for an evil demon pendant. However, although the players complained, some still gritted their teeth and exchanged for the evil demon pendant. This was because the mission to find the sealed evil demon could be teamed up. A team could submit the mission at most 5 people at the same time. If this was the case, then the total contribution points for a team of 5 to complete a mission was 2,500 points. After deducting 1,000 points, each person could still earn about 300 points. Also, each team only needed 1 person to exchange for the evil demon pendant. On the peak of Mount Liang, 20 luck points were thrown down. Another terrifying bolt of lightning lingered in the sky without dissipating. The vast heavenly might could not only be felt by the people of Mount Liang. Even the people in the surrounding regions could feel this terrifying might. Ding! The long blade hummed softly, like the sound of the heavens. But whoever heard this sound, their distracting thoughts seemed to be cleansed by the lightning, and they instantly became clear. The 7 Taoist artifact stone statues located in the main sect, branch sect, and unfinished town all emitted a dense light, and a faint power spread out from them. Anyone who approached the Taoist artifact stone statues, at that moment, it was as if they saw the lightning in the sky, the long blade cutting everything in the world, and a thunder seal appeared in it. In an instant, those who saw the thunder seal, whether it was skills or martial arts, had some kind of enlightenment, and then a breakthrough. Boom! Boom! Waves of aura of breakthrough appeared from time to time. There was a breakthrough of the beginner level. There was also a transformation of the beginner level to the true martial level. This is the Taoist artifact that suppresses the sect. It is indeed terrifying. Lin Jie raised his head and looked at the sky. Although the lightning had subsided, there was still a residual power, and the shock in his eyes could not be concealed. Others might not know what that aura was. But how could he not know? It was a pressure that only a Tao artifact could emit. Moreover, it was definitely not an ordinary Tao artifact. Lin Jie pressed his palm on his chest. There was a broken pendant that looked like a piece of jade. It was emitting a weak aura as if it was conveying something. It's a pity that my Lin clan doesn't have a complete Tao artifact. The only half-step Tao artifact we have is already broken. Now, only this fragment of the half-step Tao artifact remains. If we can find an opportunity to repair the half-step Tao artifact, we might be able to restore the glory of our Lin clan. Lin Jie's expression kept changing, and finally, a determined look appeared on his face. When the Lin family was still around, he was just a playboy. In a family with a spirit martial realm cultivator, a direct descendant was only at the 5th stage of the basic martial realm. This was an inconceivable matter. But it was also because of this. When the celestial sect failed to snatch the half-step Tao tool that was about to become a Tao tool, they destroyed the half-step Tao tool and destroyed the Lin family. Only then was he able to escape in the chaos. The one who escaped with him. They were all people of the Lin family with unremarkable cultivations. As for those above the true martial realm, they had all been killed by the celestial sect. Holding the fragment of the half-step Tao artifact through his clothes, a trace of hatred appeared in Lin Jie's eyes, but it quickly disappeared. Soon, I will definitely take revenge. A rather strong aura flashed across his body for a moment before disappearing. If there was someone beside him, he would discover that the other party had already reached the 9th stage of the basic martial realm. In 2 to 3 months. From the 5th stage of the basic martial realm to the 9th stage of the basic martial realm, he had reached the critical point of the 9th stage of the basic martial realm. He was only one step away from reaching the 10th stage of the basic martial realm. Such potential could be said to be strong. However, Lin Jie didn't have the slightest bit of pride in his heart. Because he discovered that there was no lack of geniuses like him in the Yuan sect. This was what he had observed. There were many people who had reached the 10th stage of the martial realm before him, even though their cultivation levels were similar to his at the beginning. This made Lin Jie's reverence for the Yuan sect even greater. Although it was only a large sect of the True Dominion. But in terms of potential, it was not inferior to the large sects of the spiritual region. On the peak of Mount Liang, a long crystal blade lay quietly in Qin Shijian's hand. A Thunder Dao seal was engraved on the blade. Next to this Thunder Dao seal, half a Dao seal loomed. 20 luck points were thrown Indiana. Qian Shanxue had also finally grown from 1 Dao seal to 1.5 Dao seals. Although the second Dao seal was not completely formed, Qin Shujian could already feel that the power contained in the blade was much stronger than before. His strength was now extremely strong. But compared to Qian Shanxue, Qin Shujian had to admit a fact. That was, he was really not as good as this blade. After sighing inwardly, Qin Shujian looked up at the sky. The sky there should have been clear, but now it was intertwined with black threads to form a terrifying net that seemed to extend endlessly. Behind the black net, there seemed to be a 7-colored light looming. But when he looked over, there was nothing there. 7-colored light. Heaven and earth barrier? Qin Shujian thought of the end of Mount Liang's true dominion. There was a 7-colored light that covered the sky. But after a certain distance, the 7-colored light seemed to have completely disappeared. But he knew very well. The 7-colored light did not disappear. The heaven and earth barrier was still there. It was mistaken for disappearing. It was just that he could not see it. At this moment, when he saw the seven-colored light behind the black net, an image appeared in Qin Shijian's mind. In the vast sky above, there was a heaven and earth barrier that completely covered it. Heaven and earth were both vast and boundless. But it also seemed like a cage. The world here should be the legendary square sky and square earth. Qin Shijian suppressed the thought in his mind. Looking at the black net in the sky, a terrifying force pressed down, turning into an unbreakable shackle. It overflowed with true origin that was about to break the limit. Under the suppression of the shackle, it seemed like a huge net had sealed his dantian. The storage ring flashed. The bow of heaven and earth was released from it. Qin Shijian raised his hand and asked, "Do you know anything about this? What is it?" The cosmos bow was clearly stunned by the sudden question. In its opinion, there was nothing in his hand. "Can I see it?" Qin Shijian activated the true origin in his body and shook the shackle that sealed his dantian. In an instant, a silver chain appeared out of nowhere. One end of the silver chain was firmly locked on Qin Shijian's wrist, while the other end disappeared into the void as if it had penetrated the universe. There seemed to be endless Tao patterns engraved on the silver chain, but there seemed to be nothing on it. Huan Yu heavenly lock! When it saw the chain, the bow of heaven and earth stuttered. Qin Shijian frowned and said in a deep voice, "What is Huan Yu heavenly lock?" The bow of heaven and earth did not reply immediately, as if it had seen something terrifying and was calming down. After a long while, it opened its mouth and said in a tone that was still filled with shock, "I don't know what Huan Yu heavenly lock is, but I am sure of one thing. The Huan Yu heavenly lock will only appear when one's strength exceeds the limits of a certain heaven and earth. Its purpose is to imprison such an expert. This only exists in my memory. This is the first time I have seen the real Huan Yu heavenly lock. Huan Yu heavenly lock." That was something that would only appear when an expert exceeded the limits of a domain. It was easy to surpass the limits of a domain. However, there were very few people who could achieve this. After all, when one's cultivation realm reached the peak of the current realm, one could either advance no further or break through forcefully. There was almost no third path. As for the person who was imprisoned by the universal heavenly lock, he chose the third path from the two paths. He would not break through the realm. Instead, he would forcefully excavate the limits of the current realm and continue to open up a new path based on the limits. This was different from when a spirit martial realm expert descended to the true dominion. The strength of the spirit martial realm also exceeded the limits of the true dominion. However, in the end, these were two completely different concepts. After hearing the cosmic bow's words, Qin Shijian also had a certain understanding of the Huan Yu heavenly lock. This chain, it had suddenly appeared when he had upgraded the Great Dream Spirit Capture technique to the perfected True Martial chapter. Once he unleashed all his strength, the invisible shackles would appear. They would actually be forcefully suppressed at a certain critical point. At this moment, the cosmic bow added, "It is rumored that the Huan Yu heavenly lock seals an expert's future path and is also the recognition of the expert by heaven and earth. If Sect Master can condense 4 Huan Yu heavenly locks, he will have the opportunity to break the True Dominion's shackles." 4 Huan Yu heavenly locks can break the True Dominion's shackles? That's right, the cosmic bow said firmly. Breaking the True Dominion's shackles is dozens of times more difficult than breaking the ordinary Dominion's shackles. Although there have been very few true Dominion Protectorate lords in history, there are still some. As far as I can remember, there has never been a Spirit Protectorate lord. One cannot rely on external objects to break the true Dominion's shackles, not even Tao artifacts. One has to rely on one's true strength to destroy the shackles of heaven and earth and break the barriers. At this point, the cosmic bow paused for a moment before it added, "However, Sect Master, you are already extremely powerful by being able to condense the first Huan Yu heavenly lock. If you head to the Spirit Protectorate now to break through, you will become a Spirit Martial Realm expert instantly. Given your strong foundation, your strength will definitely be much stronger than an ordinary Spirit Martial Realm cultivator's." The half-Dao seal engraved on the Thousand Mountain blood saber was already shocking enough. However, when it saw the Huanyu heavenly lock on Qin Shijian's body, the cosmic bow immediately diverted its attention. What was a half-Dao seal? It was not a two-seal Dao artifact. In comparison, an expert who was able to condense the universal heavenly lock was the one that was truly shocking. Even if he could only condense the Huanyu heavenly lock in the true dominion, however, it also represented terrifying strength and endless potential. After understanding what the universal heavenly lock was, Qin Shijian's originally tensed heart also gradually relaxed. Upon hearing the other party's words, he could not help but ask, "You said that one cannot rely on external objects to break the true dominion's shackles?" "That's right. One can only rely on oneself to break the true dominion's shackles. If one relies on external objects, they will definitely suffer a terrifying heavenly punishment." As it spoke, the cosmic bow pondered for a while and gave an example. "If the sect master uses a Dao artifact to break the shackles, heaven and earth will condense an existence that can destroy the Dao artifact. I'm afraid that even a divine martial realm expert might not be able to destroy the Dao artifact. In the past, there have been people who tried to break the true dominion's shackles with the Dao artifact. When the heavenly punishment finally struck, the true martial realm cultivator would be turned into ashes." "That's enough. Just stay here." After obtaining the information he wanted, Qin Shijian did not waste any more words with the cosmic bow. He immediately stood up and left. This time, he did not go anywhere else. It was where the library was. He went straight to the 4th level of the library with ease. Then, he would take a low-grade spirit rank cultivation method and return directly. 2 to 3 hours later, Su Yuanming came to the 4th level of the library and searched for a long time. However, he did not find the cultivation technique he wanted. He looked puzzled. "Why is it missing? I clearly remember that the cultivation technique was placed here. Could it have been taken away?" At this thought, suddenly, he stopped his rummaging motion. There were not many books on the 4th level. Since he could not find it, it was definitely not here. The cultivation techniques and martial arts techniques in the library could only be learned here. They could not be taken out. Only one person in the Yuan sect had the right to take the cultivation technique out. Immediately, Su Yuanming gave up the idea of looking for that cultivation technique and turned to look at other martial arts techniques. The few spirit-level cultivation techniques and martial arts techniques on the 4th level, as well as the middle-grade divine-level Great Desolation Devil Suppression Seal, were all very popular. However, he could not find the cultivation technique he wanted. He immediately found the spirit paper that recorded the Great Desolation Devil Suppression Seal and carefully comprehended the martial arts intent within. On the other side, after returning to his bedroom, Qin Shijian immediately opened the cultivation technique he had taken out from the library. "You have learned the low-grade spirit-level Wine Thunder True technique." Subsequently, Qin Shijian immediately used his mind to clear out the remaining life source. The low-grade spirit-level Wine Thunder True technique was upgraded from the 1st stage of the martial basic level to the 7th stage of the true martial realm in an instant. The surging vital essence filled the dantian. But immediately, a layer of black net appeared and firmly sealed the dantian. The vital essence that originally wanted to break through the shackles of the dantian. After encountering the seal, it was forced to stay in the dantian. The overflowing vital essence was constantly filling up. From the original liquefied state, it was gradually transforming into another state. However, the transformation process was extremely slow. In a split second, there was a faint sound of thunder in the bedroom. You're tuning into the Phoenix Nights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.